Approve the agenda of the council meeting of Thursday, March 31st, 2022, as seen on the Engineering Society website. Moved by Andrew Happy De Silva, seconded by Ben Week 11 Higgs. You may now vote. Motion passes. Whereas it has been some amount of time since the last council, and whereas Matthew wrote the minutes and they need to be approved, be it resolved that council approve the minutes of the council meeting of Thursday, March 3rd, 2022, as seen on the Engineering Society website. Moved by Andrew's last council De Silva, seconded by Ben Sadface Higgs. Do either of the movers have an opening?
Nope.
Okay, any debate on the motion? Seeing none, do either of the movers have a closing?
Nope.
Great, thank you. With that, be it resolved that council approve the minutes of the council meeting of Thursday, March 3rd, 2022, as seen on the Engineering Society website. Moved by Andrew's last council De Silva, seconded by Ben Sadface Higgs. You may now vote. Awesome, motion passes. So, welcome to the last council of the year, everyone. For many of us, this is also our last council ever. So let's get into it. First, I want to acknowledge that Queens is situated on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee. We are fortunate to be learning and to carrying out our university lives here on this land. It's a packed agenda today. I'd like to emphasize a couple things before we really get into it, just in light of the last couple of councils. We debate a lot of things at council. Some things are pretty straightforward. Some things there's a lot of debate, a lot of passion, a lot of opinions on it. That's healthy. We're a decision-making body. We need to debate our decisions we need to make. I'd just like to remind everyone to be respectful in that. You know, state your name and position, direct what you have to say to me as an acting speaker, and hopefully everyone else will follow and return the favor. I'll do my best to maintain order at council, but it's a team effort, so it helps if it's easier when everyone plays their part. So thank you for doing that. If you believe that a rule of order, or either that or anything else isn't being followed per bylaw, you can raise a point of order and direct your concern to me, and I will do my best to make sure that it's resolved in a fair manner and that everyone is happy with the outcome. Ultimately, it's a team effort though, so please be mindful of all that and be respectful. And with that, we will get into the presentations, starting with Queens Young Engineering alumni. President Emeritus Cook, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Let me share my screen here. All right, we're gonna have a bit of a...
Sorry, point of order. I'd like to ask, sorry, that Ali, okay, there we go, camera off.
All right, I thought you were gonna point of order me to
not you, sorry, not.
That's good. All right, hi everyone. Hopefully you can see the presentation. Let me know if you can't. I see a lot of names I recognize, but also a lot that I don't, which is awesome. So before I dive into it, just to introduce myself, I'm Carson. I'm a couple years graduated now, and I was highly involved with the Engineering Society, and I was president of the Engineering Society in 2018, 2019. And now I am the chair of QYA, which I'm going to talk to you about today. And I guess something to keep in your head is really what I'm doing here is trying to improve the knowledge of QYA and get folks interested in understanding what QYA is. So at any time, if you have any questions, I guess not to override existing council procedures, but happy to answer things on the fly if you type them in the chat, if that's appropriate per council. Okay, so I know council is long and this agenda looks packed, so I'm just gonna whip through this pretty quick. So what is QIA? It's a, well, it looks like my screen is cutting off my slides a bit. That's all right. QIA is the Queen's Young Engineering Alumni Group. So it's a group for young engineering alumni. The definition of young is loose. If you're young at heart, you belong in QIA. Really, we focus on within 5 years graduated alumni, and then there's also the 5 to 10 years out alumni is kind of our secondary group that we focus on, but any alumni is welcome to be a part of QIA, and then any student or older alumni is always welcome to engage with QIA as well. Traditionally, QIA has been based in Toronto, but we're looking to expand a little bit. We've always been looking to expand, and with the online context, that's happened a little bit more. But traditionally, QIA events have been held in either Kingston or Toronto, with various types of structure and sorts of agendas to the events, which I'll get into in a little bit. Just for some history, it was established in 2011, and really what QIA was established for is to help new grads engage with students at Queen's, really direct, leveraging our student-to-student relationships as young alumni, still having connections with the student body, still having those fond memories and very strong, clear memories of being involved at Queen's, being a part of the Queen's engineering community, looking to leverage that and reignite that passion for everyone and give them an opportunity to continue engaging with the student body at Queen's. So QIA's mission, there's kind of 3 prongs to it. The first is networking between alumni, having alumni be able to reconnect with their classmates, connect with other alumni on a social basis, so that you can stay connected with your friends, stay connected with that engineering community, and then also just open up your networks, and that feeds into another prong of professional development. So we look to promote the professional development of young engineering alumni, providing exposure to older, more experienced alumni, doing alumni to alumni mentorships, expanding your networks both in the casual friend context as well as the business and professional context, and by providing opportunities for young alumni to really drive their innovation, their leadership, and other sorts of soft skills and opportunities for them to get involved with those sorts of leadership opportunities. And then the final prong is giving back to Queen's. So that's a key part of Queen's as a university and engineering as a faculty is the alumni network and how that network comes back and gives back to the student community. And so QIA looks to facilitate that both on a monetary level with soliciting donations for students, not for the faculty, but specifically for students, and then also through time-based donation with things like volunteering and doing mentorships to connect with students. So what these prongs kind of look like, as I said, giving back monetarily to students is a prong of QIA, and it's been successful. It was really a strong push to be giving back in a financial way since 2015. And since 2015, QIA raised about $100,000 for students and donated that money directly to student groups. So I think that's really awesome, particularly when that time window it is really about 5 years of donations, because since COVID-19, QIA has backed off on financial giving back in a financial way due to the pandemic context. So in about 5 years, there was $100,000 raised that went directly to students. So there is a really good history there, and I'll talk a little bit more about how that donation happened, or how those donations happened. In terms of connecting with alumni, usually this looks like a casual meetup or casual networking event at a venue, otherwise known as a bar. So renting out a bar or a location with drinks, usually in Toronto, and just having alumni come, slap on a name tag, and meet and talk one another. It's not hard to get Queen's engineers talking to one another because that connection is so strong, and that's what QIA looks to further. If you're not 19, you can still attend, but no drinks, no drink tickets from QIA. You're on your own. And in the past, there have been more professional events like speaker series, but that hasn't happened too much in the COVID. No sort of personal meetups have in-person meetups have happened in the COVID-19 context, of course. And then finally, connecting with students. We're always present at the Alumni Networking Summit. So if you've been to that, you may have heard of QIA. If you haven't been to that, definitely go in the future, either as an alumni or as a student. Connecting with students, doing speed networking, doing longer mentorship programs. This year, in this past year, we've done the Alumni Think Tank and the QIA coaching program. So both of these were opportunities where student groups within the Engineering Society got connected with a QIA alumni member and had an opportunity to bounce ideas off of each other to help improve the student groups and help improve the Queen's engineering experience. So just a little bit of a taste of what QIA does. To dive a little deeper, as I said, renting out a bar, often in Toronto, but QIA's been to Kingston. We love coming back to Kingston, of course, for classic events like Iron Ring ceremony and homecoming, and we look forward to getting back to Kingston in the next year or two as COVID hopefully lessens. So traditionally it's been Toronto, Kingston. As I said at the beginning, we want to expand past just Toronto being Toronto based. We want to go as wide as we can, as far as we can. There's lots of great alumni groups across Canada, even pockets in the United States. So we want to go as national and international as possible. So if there are any students here on the call that aren't going to end up in Toronto and otherwise would be interested in QIA, that's definitely not a barrier with the online context or not. We definitely want to expand. So keep that in mind, even if you're not going to be heading to Toronto when you graduate. What the mentorship looks like. So as I said, we had the QIA coaching program. So we paired an alumni with an EngSoc group. So I'm a former director of IT. So I paired up with the IT team and just some casual here and there mentorship opportunities, providing advice on how the team can be successful. We had a conference, we had a design team, I believe. We had the director of services, I'm pretty sure was signed up. So just kind of mentorship, not on just a personal basis, but also on a team basis to help lend our knowledge and our experience where useful to help the EngSoc team be as strong as possible. The alumni think tank we also ran in this past year. So as a panel of alumni providing that experience in a one-time event to groups who participated, talking about objectives, goals, strategies, and measures to help improve the student experience again. And then finally, coffee chats are a common thing for QIA. We didn't run any in this past year, but we're looking to run coffee chats this year. So just an easy, casual way to expand your network and talk to some alumni and provide the alumni the opportunity to talk to students. Trust me, alumni love giving back, giving their time, and being able to mentor students, especially in a short, casual format like a coffee chat. So keep an eye out for that. All right, second last slide here. I promised I'd be quick. This is just an example of how QIA has given back in a financial way. So in 2019 was the last time we ran the Gales Den, which was an event at the Alumni Networking Summit. So in 2019, there was $13,000 that was awarded, ended up being awarded to 4 design teams after kind of having a Dragon's Den style panel. That's where the name came from, Gales Den, Dragon's Den. It's very clever. So in 1 year, just to 4 design teams, $13,000, which isn't necessarily a ton, but I'm sure the design teams, I've seen some design team budgets and they're quite thin sometimes. So it is a significant way to give back to the Queen's community, and QIA has been quite successful at providing some monetary support to student groups who need the money to do the great things that they do. And remember, in about 5 years span, it was totaled about $100,000 in donations. So it can be quite large. As I said, though, in the past 2 years with COVID, we've pivoted away from financial donors and looked to facilitate that time and mentorship-based donor. So we're still looking and evaluating at how we can provide financial support to students, but right now we are focusing on that time-based volunteering aspect. So my call to action is to everyone on the call and tell your friends about QIA, think about joining QIA, become a part of QIA. If you're graduating this year, look us up, connect, send me an email if you want, connect with us on Instagram and follow us on Instagram, whether it's being a part of the QIA committee and helping to organize and drive what QIA does, or just looking at us on Instagram and then coming out to our events. Engage with us. If you are graduating, we'd love to have you, whether or not you're going to end up in Toronto or Kingston. If you're still a student, keep QIA in mind. We're always here, happy to help. where we can, whether it's finding alumni for a speaker role at a conference, or providing some advice in a mentorship capacity, or keeping an eye out for a coffee chat program or the QIA coaching program. Any way that we can help students who are interested, shoot us an email if you're looking to talk to alumni. Yes, that is a typo on the slide. Thanks, Jonah. It should be QIA.connect. I guess I got confused when I was writing out a Gmail email and thought it was a G instead of a Q. Thanks, Jonah. So I promised I'd be quick. I'm not sure how long that was, but I think it was pretty speedy. Connect with us on LinkedIn. Shoot me an email if you want to connect and discuss how QIA can help out students or how you can get involved with QIA. And good luck with the rest of your council. If there's any questions or comments, I'm happy to answer now. Otherwise, I'll let you get back to it.
Thank you for that presentation. If anyone has any questions or anything else to bring up, please put your name in the speakers queue under this under the Queen's Young Engineering Alumni section. All right. Seeing none, I will just say again, thank you to former President Cook for that presentation. I'm sure everyone here is grateful for the support that we get from QIA. And we will move on to the next presentation, which I believe is the exec summer plan. And I will give the floor to the incoming executive for that.
Hello, incoming President Danielle Rivard. Did I do it right? Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, incoming President Rivard. Floor is yours.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure Jane or Evan are gonna share the screen, so then we can get started.
I think Jane's gonna do it.
Sorry. Yes, but I have to go at 7:45. So I think
We'll be
maybe you should, Evan.
I'll present then, sure. I don't think it'll be that long though.
I don't think it'll be that long, but I think to avoid. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess I'll start off with an introduction. This is our executive summer plan. We're essentially going to outline our initiatives for the summer and full-on plans and what we'll be doing and how we're going to be keeping ourselves accountable since we are being paid with student dollars. So yeah, exactly what I just said. We're going to be outlining accountability, annual duties, new projects, budget, and then we'll be answering any questions. We'll be answering any questions. So I'm D-Rocks. Oh, Evan. I'm D-Rocks Rivard, the president. Then we have Jane Cohen as the VPSA, and then Evan Ray as the vice president of operations. Okay, so our first thing is accountability. So we will be using an Excel tracker, which will be logging in per hours daily. And then we are doing a summer video series. It'll be short 1-minute videos detailing what we do. We haven't decided exactly yet whether it'll be through Instagram or I guess like Instagram Live or like a post, but it'll be definitely accounted for. And then we have monthly reports, which is like details of what we accomplished through the month. And yeah, essentially we allocated 6 days towards doing all of this throughout the summer. So this is our statics. There's quite a bit of them. This is what we will be doing, like for our routine duties. This is just part of our positions. So we'll be answering emails every day, and then we start off 15-minute meetings every day just to do general updates, answer any questions. And then I'm not going to go through all of them because there's a lot, but as you can see, like there's ones where only the president or VPSA will be attending, and then or all of us. And yeah, they're daily, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly.
Okay, hi, I'm Jane. I'm the incoming Vice President of Student Affairs. And I'll be introducing the annual duties that we'll be doing over the summer. So these are things that all three of us will be working on. So I'm not going to read all the names because you guys can read them, but so the first one is a lot of like admin technical stuff. We'll be creating strategic plans, helping our directors create them. We'll be reviewing them, studying bylaw, policy, all of that good stuff. And we'll also be attending the QES summer event, which is very exciting. I think Carson left, but hopefully he'll be there. And then the next one is a little, external relations. So we'll be working, basically you can see it. I don't know how much to say, but like you guys can read it. And it's also all included in our summer plan, which was attached in the email for council. So it's all laid out in detail there. But yeah, this will be working with a lot of like external bodies over the summer. And then lastly on this slide is, yes, Clint, is the training. So you can see that there's 3 more days for the VPSA. So I'll be organizing this training, and then we will all be completing it. So there's all different training, positive space facilitator training, first aid, assist, living works and safe talks, things like that. So we'll be facilitating those for the exec, for directors, and other leadership positions like OC. And yes, okay. And then more annual duties. So the next one is Director O Week. So this will it'll be before orientation week, and many different things will be going on, but we'll be there as a support for FC. So kind of split into 3 things. This is when a lot of the training that I mentioned earlier will be carried out. So I'll be in charge of that and making sure our directors and the positions on FC get the proper training. And then Evan will be taking care of all the legal and finance related trainings. And Danny will be working closely with OC and FC too. Yeah, with that collaboration. The next one is painting the year crests, which is very exciting. We'll be painting over all the year crests, like touching them up of all the years that are here. Yeah, so that will be fun, good in the sun. And then the next one is our EDII action plan. So as council regulars, I'm sure you have heard the EDII action plan presented and reviewed at the end of the year. And so we will be starting to work on this. We'll be focusing on documenting everything we work on over the summer, and just really starting to get that document together so we can present it in the fall to council. Yes, if you're in Kingston, the crest painting will be fun. And then, so lastly, we have ritual as well if you're here in the summer. So we will be running ritual for the first 6 weeks of summer, which is going to be really fun. We really hope that people come out, and it'll just be a good chance for us all to see each other. So yes, okay.
These are the corporate initiatives that will, I guess we'll all be working on it, but mainly I will be overseeing these corporate initiatives. So the first one is the big debut, which is orientation week. I might have overestimated the amount of days dedicated to this, but I think it's necessary due to the pressure and like just going back in person is going to be crazy. But I'm really excited and basically just going to be a support system and a resource to the orientation chair and FC. My second corporate initiative that I will be following up on throughout the summer is Sci-Formal. Basically, this is a little bit not on the forefront because due to the timeline of it just being in March. So we have a lot more time to focus on this during the school year, but I still want to be a support system to the Sci-Formal convener and their team.
Awesome. So this is where I come in. So my name is Evan. I'm the incoming Vice President of Operations. So I'm just going to outline some of the new projects we have planned for this summer. Awesome. Yeah. So these are sort of pretty, I think pretty standard, pretty expected. COVID-19. This has a couple less days than the exec last year committed to this. But the main thing here is just staying up to date with provincial and university guidelines so that all of our operations are compliant with those. The engagement committee, as you're going to see later, we're going to address that, put some stuff in policy, and then elect some people, hopefully. We'll be working with them over the summer as well. The website, this is sort of a big project of ours as well, is to sort of improve the layout and accessibility of the website because it's not heavily used. And I think that's part of the reason why is because it's not very user-friendly. And then finally on this one is the support of EDII groups. This one's mainly Jane and Danny as president of BPSA, but they're sort of supporting current initiatives and advocating on their behalf. Awesome. So the next set sort of our shared new projects, again, sort of continuing efforts from previous execs and developing policy surrounding EngSoc's endorphin policy. You'll see this is priority 3. This has sort of been on the docket for a couple of execs and sort of gets pushed down. We're hoping to actually get to this. But again, it's sort of a lower priority thing as we have this debate pretty regularly. Cleaning out EngSoc spaces as well. The lounge in the ILC and the lounge in Clark have been sort of lightly used over the last year and not very well used or well cleaned over the last 2 years. So sort of a big thing is cleaning out a lot of cupboards and stuff that people haven't had access to in 2 years. There's a lot of stuff we got to clean out. Another big thing that sort of relates to our ESCO and CFES sort of external relations stuff is attending the U of T Pride Parade and also getting to know the U of T EngSoc exec during that. And the last one is our EngSoc Wikipedia on this page. So this is sort of a similar thing the IT team currently has to help their transition, which is basically sort of more technical details of their jobs in a Wikipedia style page. Hopefully we can transfer that over to the services, conferences, design teams, and even the directors to improve their transition.
Okay, now these are my projects specifically to me. Yes, Jonah, you got it. Yeah, okay. I wanted somebody to like see that reference. That was my idea. But anyways, so these are my specific projects that I will be working on. So the first one I didn't really allocate any days towards this, but this is just a general thing I'll be doing throughout the summer is just learning all the time, constantly looking into things, constantly learning things through experience and just through every day-to-day work life. The next one is Operation We Love FC. So I've noticed a lot through working with the current OC that she's just insanely stressed. And then just it's been this huge thing that like OC is just such a huge job and it does take away, like it's just expected that their grades might drop or they can't have a job throughout the summer or like they might have to drop a course. And I just don't agree with it. I think we can find other ways to further support OC and FC for future years. And this is something that I'm really going to be concentrating on through the summer through basically conversations with past OCs to figure out what worked and what didn't. And then also just like reading through old FC Bibles and getting to know like the events, kind of like analyzing that. And then, yeah, just talking to the exec with anything I come up with and coming to a common ground of what we think is the best idea to move forward. Okay, so my next one is Operation, I've been calling this the purple sword. So there is the purple knight in the lounge. It's basically a sword with all like engraved names. There's currently no room left on the sword. So I want to find a new item so that we can engrave some new names, because I think we're a couple years behind on engraving names. So yeah, that'll be something I'll be doing. But yeah, I'll have to figure out, sorry, I'm just reading comments, but I'll have to figure out what the item is going to be and if it like fairly represents the engineering society. Yeah. And then the last one is Operation Not the Hair Dye. So basically, when I was in first year, the whole gentian thing was like frowned upon, and it was like discouraged to use because of the health risk it poses. So essentially, I kind of want to look into that and see if there are specific leather dyes that might not have gentian in it, because I think that would be fun to keep that tradition. And yeah, that's just something I'll be looking into. It's not a high priority, but it's definitely something on my mind.
Okay, hello. So these are my personal VPSA projects. So the first one is Operation I May Not Be an ECE, but I will still fix this broken telephone. So basically, something that I wanted to work on since the like a big reason that I ran for VPSA is giving students a voice. And I think that kind of starting from the base, researching how other successful organizations and corporations have managed to collect and address feedback will be really important. And then I also want to reach out to other engineering societies with the Director of External Relations and see how they handle getting student feedback. And then I'll also reach out to other internal groups within Queens. And yeah, and then hopefully by the end of the summer, we can implement this feedback system, or coming into the fall. So yeah, I'm quite excited about that one. And then the next one is Forever Frosh. So this is EngPals. Basically just continuing EngPals, continuing to work on it and make it more well-known throughout the society. So I'll be working with Dofi this summer, and we'll be opening applications and pairing upper year students with lower year students. So incoming engineers can have that point of contact coming in, but also if there's Sci 2.5s or even Sci 2.4s that really feel like they'd like that upper year mentor, that's definitely something we're going to try to facilitate. And then my third one is All Voices. So this is outlined more in the report, but basically just as an overview, I want to like the current concerns that I would like to address with this initiative are the responses to anonymous reports, advocating for support and resources for survivors, and also examining the existing non-academic misconduct system. So that's more in the report, but yes. And then my last personal initiative is Happy Brain, Happy Engineer. So advocating for the students' mental health. So I want to do this by first consolidating all of the existing resources for students, so we can kind of see what we're working with, and then from there promoting those resources and making sure that students are able to access them. And then finally building from that will be kind of proposing and advocating for new resources and systems. Yes, that's it.
Awesome. So I'll go over my new projects for this year. So the first one is thanks Rashid, Jinho, Ben, and Ben, because I'll be hopefully cleaning up all the engagement reviews from the past 4 years that they did not complete. My second one here is sort of a standard every year, fiscal year end and year start. So ending everything off for the services, so payroll, contracts, and then doing contracts for my new team, finance, training, strat plans, budgets. That's why there's about 20.5 days allocated for that, because it takes a long time to do. Then sort of how it's made, VP Ops edition. This is learning everything in the role. This is going to be most of my month of May. Reading transition manuals, operations handbooks, transition manuals of my directors, learning BMO, QuickBooks, month ends, legal operations, learning everything so I can do my role as successfully as possible. And then the last one here, sort of It's a little lower priority, but dealing with inflation and supply chain restrictions that are going to really affect our budgeting over the next year. I think we don't really have good actuals from this year because a lot of things didn't run with the first 6 weeks of this semester being online. I think it's going to affect our budgeting going into next year, given the fact that the best actuals we have from 3 years ago, and a lot of things have gone up in cost in the last 3 years. So definitely taking that into account when we go to start budgeting for next year. I also have a second page. So this was sort of in my platform, was services and affiliated groups data analytics. So trying to improve sort of the tracking of this data, and then the analysis and presentation of this data to future business managers, head managers, and treasurers to sort of improve their budgeting and their knowledge going into producing their strat plans and budgets for the year. This is sort of continuing over from my current role as director of internal processes, but sort of improving our file storage overhaul and policy around how we store files. We don't really have a standard thing as most companies do. So trying to put that in place and improve that. Cleaning QuickBooks. So when we moved to QuickBooks a couple of years ago, there are a couple of accounts that are kind of just sitting there that are unused. So we can clean that up just to make our books a little bit easier to understand for our business managers. And then the big thing here is e-transfer improvements, sort of improving the speed and process of these e-transfers, and especially with the new version of Bank of EngSoc, improving the visibility so that people that have requested reimbursements through e-transfer sort of know where their request is along the process.
Okay, so these are some of my directors type of basically what they wrote about in their summer strat plan. And I think I will be helping them work on it throughout the summer as well. So I think it should be, we've just thought should be talked about as well. So Operation Iconic, does everybody get it? It's a good one. So basically a big goal, it's not funny, Evan, a big goal that our incoming DOA is that like he really wants to just close the gap between the side 2.4 and side 2.5 and like edge links and icons, because unfortunately due to virtual learning, they kind of got robbed of that like connection experience with these services. So I'll be helping him through this with this through statics. So I didn't account any days to that because I'm already accounting for statics anyways. Operation Bedhead is basically there have been issues throughout the year of the purpose of the bed fund and just like the clarity of it and what falls under the bed fund compared to what falls under the faculty's responsibility to pay for. So this is something that'll be worked on a lot throughout the summer and just figuring out that clarity. I'll kind of be taking the forefront on that and then just communicating it with Connor, the incoming DOA. The next operation has to do with external relations. Basically, due to COVID, the external relations portfolio took a big hit because a lot of the things that they usually do couldn't really happen, or like there was huge obstacles to happen. So basically, Kalina has decided that she's going to plan in advance and basically get long-term goals way in advance, and I will support her through statics. And then the second thing that she's focusing on is the ESCO membership. Last council, we voted, or at AGM, we voted that we would become full members again. So that will increase the workload for the Director of External Relations. And I will have to familiarize myself with like what a full member entails. And that will also account for a day in the summer. Okay, so my next two operations have to do with professional development. So operation, maybe we got lost in translation, is basically like the PD team does work with like QIA, advancement in corporate relations, but there always has been a lack of clarity of like what the PD team's role and like what the expectations are and what essentially the PD team does. So basically just like Kate has decided that she wants to make detailed documents outlining the expectations and the relationships that are supposed to be between these parties. And I will help her with this like through sitting on any meetings that she needs me to sit on or offering any support. Operation Insight is just the lack of awareness of the benefits of professional development. This has been a thing even before COVID. So Kate really wants to study past events and see like what has worked and what hasn't worked. And I will also be supporting her through statics with this. And then the last one is Operation Welcome Dosi, which is very exciting because we recently hired a Dosi last week. So unfortunately, I didn't have her strategic plan, but I allocated 2 days to this just in case she does think of something, because I will have her to complete that just so we know our goals and we can accomplish something throughout the summer.
Hello. Okay. So these are my director initiatives. So like Danny discussed, all of our directors made summer plans. And so after reading them, the ones that I plan to be more heavily involved in are the ones that were included in the report. So yeah, so the first one is extra cheese, please. So this is first council back in the fall. It's very exciting because it'll be the first one in person in 2 years. Yay. So we really want to like introduce the students to council and encourage them to come out, advertise, just like really get students excited, because so many students at Queens now don't even know what council is because of the online. So yeah, I think that'll be fun. And extra cheese on all the pizza. So sorry. Is this okay? Yeah, this is the same order. So then the next ones are some no, Christina, that hurts me. So these are the HR initiatives. So wonderful Haley. So the first one is an ode to AW. So Allison Wong with the Kaya. They basically made all these awesome interactive and engaging training modules. Sorry, the chat is like really distracting me. I don't know how to turn it off, that's why I keep like stumbling, but it's okay. So anyways, yeah, they made these awesome interactive training modules. So I want to make sure none get lost. I know Allison's working a lot right now on consolidating them on Articulate. So yeah, just making sure that that's like fully completed and that it's passed out to all the groups that will be doing those trainings. Oh, not Kaya, no credit. It was all Allison. But, and then the next thing is that a goal of Haley's and also that I share is making the HR portfolio more front facing. So we want to try to figure out how that can include more outreach to students. And yeah, just like now that we have all these awesome training modules, we can kind of like do some fun stuff with the portfolio. And then next we have the director of design, so Michael. So yes, the first one is space allocation. Yay, every 2 years, space allocation. We are at that 2 year. So we will be reallocating space to design teams. So they're filling out everything. Yes. And Michael and I, along with other people, will be reviewing that and doing that and also helping with. Thank you. Thank you, Evan. Yeah, we'll also be helping them with move in and move out in the fall or end of summer. Okay, and then next one is Operation Where When Astronaut Park Their Spaceship. You have to read the report to find the answer. And so, yeah, basically just speaking with all the teams to figure out kind of like, sorry, like making the design bay more accessible. So I just want to speak to the teams, hear what they have to say, and see how we can improve the bay for all of them. And then the last one is Operation CU Crater Space Invader. The Space Invader is the lack of EDII. So we're trying to get that gone. And the past DoD has started some awesome things. So we really want to like keep working on those and promoting those. And then we have Dofi, so Thomas. I spoke about this above, but yeah, we'll be doing EngPals, so that'll be a big project for Thomas and I, and also other people on the first year team if they want to get involved and help with that. Yeah, I know. I have so many directors, I'm sorry. But yeah, so then next we have clubs and conferences, Victoria, yay. Okay, so we will be reviewing all the budgets of the conferences before they're sent to finance. So that will be fun. We'll get to meet all of them. Yay. Okay, so next we have Director of Events, which is back this year. Yay, thank you, Council, for approving that. So we have Aiden now. So the first one is Director. Oh no, so you want to run an event. So this is basically just creating event planning guides, because I know it can be pretty intimidating as a co-chair or someone else who's planning an event within EngSoc for the first time. So having event guides would be pretty awesome for that. So Aiden and I will start that. And then next we have Operation Director of what? So that's because, you know, DOE just came back and we don't really know what it is, like we do actually, but okay, I'm sorry, I'm really just like, this is so much talking for one time, but okay, so yeah, basically we want to consolidate all the documents from previous DOEs, because there wasn't that transition manual, because there wasn't a DOE last year. So just like collecting everything from like external relations and social issues, just all those directors that ran those events. We want to get those all together for, thank you, Noah. So yeah, we want to get together all those documents, and then also policy definitely still refers to the wrong directors sometimes. So really going through and cleaning that up so that it's referring to Director of Events when appropriate will be very good. Okay, two more, and they're both comms. So Operation Comms are not down. So basically Sarah and I will sit down. She's going away to camp. Sorry, that's my reminder to leave in 5 minutes. Okay, so she'll be going to camp. So we're going to sit down at the beginning of the summer, because I'll be doing all like the graphics and posting for the EngSoc Instagram. So we're going to sit down and start to flesh out kind of our marketing plan for the summer and into the year. And then lastly, Operation Facebook is washed up. So yes, Jonah. So yeah, basically we just want to find a way to better communicate with the students. Not a lot of younger students use Facebook, and Instagram is so like saturated right now with all the like advertisements and hiring, and we think that we could definitely find a new way to better communicate with the students. So yeah, we're going to work on that, and that is all my lovely directors.
Awesome. So mine is nowhere near as long, with only 4 directors. So the first one for Director of Finance is looking into BOE improvements or replacements. For services, it's just sort of my regular role, which is meetings with service head managers. A lot of it is doing reviewing and approval of strat plans and budgets, sort of later in the summer. For Director of Internal Processes, I think I have most of this down already, but sort of half a day there for improving scheduling of the ILC and Clark lounges, and then tracking systems for chores and tasks to be done. And then Director of IT is sort of assisting with the reorganization of the website, and then setting up an O-week registration website. Awesome. I guess this is still me. So for our summer budget, there's also a motion later to approve this. The budget we can pull up in a second as well if anyone has any questions. I just wanted to go over sort of the things I wanted to highlight. So in the fall, when the operational budget was approved at, I believe, the first or second council of the year, we're given $15,000 then, but obviously we had no clue what we were going to spend this summer. We weren't even elected. And so this is sort of a breakdown of our expenses that we projected for this summer that are multi-year expenses, as in we're going to buy them this summer and they won't need to be bought for 5, 8, 10 more years. A lot of these things have also not occurred in that same time frame in the last 8 or 10 years. The ones I want to highlight are the computers and monitors in the lounge. This includes the Clark lounge and offices as well as the ILC lounge, 4 that are open for students for the printer, as well as the 2 that are in the ED team office. All of these computers are 8 to 10 years old and do not run, if at all. So we're looking to get those replaced. New locks and keys. This is also a standard sort of EngSoc thing that the locks get replaced every 5 to 8 years. So do the keys. This is also a compounding factor of COVID, and that when COVID hit, a lot of keys were taken home by people, and so we've already had to do this for some of them, but this is sort of finishing off the rest of the locks. 2 new safes for the same problem of things being old and not working, and or being affected by the flood that happened in the ILC last semester. And then EngSoc ruggers, same thing, looking to get more ruggers so that the events that we are back in person with our entire team, like Market Open House and events like that, we can have our entire team in those ruggers and sort of out and more visible to the student body. So this is sort of a summary. You can see this in our budget as well. We can maybe pull it up if we have time afterwards, but those 5 to 8 year expenses are about $24,000. The annual expenses that we'd be given are roughly $15,000 every year. With the inflation, as I mentioned before, and supply chain costs, those are up to about $20,000, $21,000. So that just has to do with like, I can give you a good example from compared to last summer. All the cleaning supplies that were bought last summer are $5, $8, $10 more expensive this summer. Train tickets and hotel costs to go to Toronto to do the Pride Parade, the QES summer event, ESCO and CFAS AGM. Those are all slightly more expensive than they were last budgeted for, because the actuals we're working off for a lot of those in-person events are 3 or 4 years old. And so as a result, those costs have gone up. So we're also going to look into that over the summer, is sort of potentially upping that $15,000 limit, because it no longer looks viable, as it's not enough money for the sort of the bare minimum of what each exec is expected to do over the summer. So we're going to look into sort of upping that, and that'll come to council on our operational budget at the first or second council of next year. But yeah, so as much as that puts us in a net surplus of minus $30,000, a lot of these expenses have been in the budget, this year's operational budget, last year's exec summer budget, and the previous year's operational budget. And a lot of those items were put in those budgets and never purchased, because the main reason here for a lot of the computers and such, it would have been really dumb to buy a computer and have it sit in the lounge for 2 years during COVID. So a lot of those purchases were deferred. Awesome. So here's a sort of a summary. Daniel will go first.
This is my summary. Basically, I had to split mine up between 2 slides, but basically 91.5% of my initiatives are priority 1, 5.2 are priority 2, and 3.3 are priority 3. Basically, how these priorities work, just to clarify on that, is like priority 1 is very high, want to do like that summer. And then priority 2 is like important to do, but if like time, like only if time, if there's time to do it. Sorry, that was a hard sentence apparently. But and then priority 3 is basically like, is very like valuable, but like not so much necessary and can be continued in the school year. So yeah, those are the different priorities. And Evan, if you want to go to the next slide. Yeah, so I have 105.75 days, which is a little bit over the 80 days that we're supposed to do. But everything is, I just wanted to preface that everything is equally valued, and just because it's a different priority does not mean that it is less valued at all. It just, there's probably some timeline that has to do with it and can be done within the school year. So anything that doesn't get finished up in the summer can definitely be moved into the school year and continue to talk about. This is Jane's. I think she had to leave, but basically same thing as what I just said. Her priorities are 97.75 priority 1, 15.5 priority 2, and then priority 3 is 10%. And she has more days than me, 123.25.
Awesome. So for my summer summary, same thing. The priority basically here, similar to what Danny said, doesn't mean that it is sort of less valued. It just means a lot of it will probably get pushed to being done during the school year. The priority 1s are stuff that really has to get done in the summer so we can kick off the year on the right foot. As you'll see here, I'm at 152 or 153 days worth of stuff. So like I could fill 2 summers worth of stuff, and I fully understand that I will get probably less than half of this done because of that. But at least I'll be busy. Awesome. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you to the incoming executive. If you have any questions, anyone in council, please put your name in the speakers queue. I'll kick things off with Representative Opler.
Thanks, Speaker Merton. Excellent presentation. I was sincerely enthralled the entire way. Evan, I liked how there was like a big reveal for the 152. To the point about having a lot of hours, like I think that sometimes you need to just set your goals higher than you even know they can be to make sure that the things that absolutely need to get done. So I think it's great. And I also want to commend, I wish Jane was here, but I want to commend the 3 of you on how, and Kalena and Aiden on how we're pushing the external relations portfolio. You know, it wasn't, not only is the external relations director doing external relations related stuff, you know, putting ESCO stuff as a priority, using the external relations to help Jane's project with like how to do EngSoc feedback, getting information from other schools. It's amazing, and it makes me proud to see. So great work, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Next to Director Wong. Director Wong, are you able to?
Hello. Okay. Wow, I'm backlit, so you can't actually see my face. Jane's not here, so I don't know if anybody else is able to answer this, but just briefly on one of her, I think it was like either one of her projects or directed projects, so it said something about EngSoc Academy, which to my understanding is dead. Can anybody comment on that?
I think, sorry, current Vice President Student Affairs, Kaya Edwards. Do you know which page exactly that's on? I believe it's finding a solution or an alternative for EngSoc Academy.
I don't remember which slide.
We can also follow up in our
It
next.
said EngSoc Academy updates was the wording, so I was just confused because I thought I killed it this year. So
I was like, it should be gone. It's dead.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's finding a replacement. Yeah, we can definitely, like, you can follow up with Jane afterwards.
yeah, just making sure we all knew that it didn't exist anymore.
Okay, thank you. Oops. Seeing no other names in the queue, I just had a brief question for incoming VP Ops Ray. Thank you for including the that note on the file storage overhaul and the policy that you plan to develop. Just wanted to check whether that policy would include, or like what kind of files and records you're talking about, what kind of things the policy would include like who has access to different kinds of things and procedures for requesting, because that seemed to be hinted at in the document, but just sort of curious what your plans are there.
Yep. So incoming Vice President of Operations, Evan Ray. Yes, that's sort of exactly what I'm going for. I think the beginning of that policy will probably look at a small rollout to probably either a single service, a couple services, or the directors in sort of a test phase. But yes, a lot of it is to sort of limit who has access to what, and then sort of have a formal request policy for certain documents.
Sounds great, thank you. Just gonna check the speakers queue again. Okay, seeing nothing. Thank you again to the incoming executive. It sounds like EngSoc is in good hands. We will then move on to the presentation from QBMet. The floor is yours.
Awesome. I'll just share my screen quickly. Everyone seeing that?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. All right. Hi, my name is Marissa, and I'm one of the current co-captains of the Queens Biomechatronics team this year. We are currently ratified as a design club, but today we are hoping to be ratified as a design team. So here's a breakdown of my presentation today. I'll begin by giving a brief background on our club, our goals, and the team structure, and then I'll go into the current progress of the team, and that includes our project, our competition, and our budget. And then I'll end things off with some of the future goals we have for our team. So starting with some background about the team, QBMet was founded in the fall of 2019 with about 6 members. The team's initial project was to design and build a strengthening arm exoskeleton, and they were able to build a version 1 prototype in their first year of operation. However, in March 2020, the first COVID-19 lockdowns were put in place, and that prevented the team from meeting together in person and continuing to build the prototype. And so over the course of the 2020 and 2021 school year, obviously teams were relocated to a completely online format. And as a result, the team really struggled with maintaining general member interest and attendance. The team couldn't build, and students were discouraged by online formats to begin with. So ultimately, by the end of last year, the team had completely halted operations, and there were no members on the team, and that includes any executive members. In September, I showed interest in the team and was almost immediately given the role of co-captain after speaking with the outgoing co-captains, and I was the only member of the team. In October, I hired a second co-captain, 2 chief technical officers, and a president of marketing. And by November, we had 50 general members join the team, and we were able to begin hosting regular general member meetings over Zoom. And we started working on the team's project. So the overarching goal of the team is to build a fully functioning rigid lower limb exoskeleton over the next school year and to be able to compete in the annual competition hosted at Michigan University. However, mechatronics is a relatively new and growing field, and so we really hope to generate enthusiasm about the industry, and we want to encourage students at Queen's to join our team. And we hope that by joining the team, students can expand their knowledge about mechatronics by participation in projects like our lower limb exoskeleton. And that kind of leads into why we would like to be ratified as a design team. We are one of the only undergraduate and student-run teams in Canada building exoskeletons. And this team allows students to work alongside others in with similar interests and in an innovative field to compete with their designs internationally in a growing competition such as the ACE competition. And so we want to be a design team to provide students at Queen's the opportunity to learn more about this field and to test their designs in a competition. So about the structure of our team. So overseeing our team, we do have an academic advisor, Professor Amy Wu from the Mechanical and Materials Engineering Department. And she is someone who I correspond with monthly to share progress and to receive guidance from. From there, the team is broken down into a technical and administrative side. We have 2 co-captains overseeing all operations of the team. Ideally, we would have one co-captain who is more administrative and the other who is more technical. Under the administrative captain, we have a president of marketing, a president of sponsorship, and a president of finance. But like I mentioned, this year, we only had a president of marketing. And so my co-captain and I also oversaw finance and sponsorship. Under the technical captain, we have our chief technical officers, project managers, and then general members. Normally, we would have one chief technical officer per sub-team and with multiple project managers within each sub-team. This year, we only had 2 chief technical officers, and so they split the role into a mechanical lead and then an electrical lead, and then they each had one project manager working with them. So this year we started designing a rigid lower limb exoskeleton in order to compete in the ACE competition. Oh, sorry. The exoskeleton has one passive joint, the ankle, and 2 active joints, the knee and the hip. The exoskeleton utilizes mechanical stops in order to prevent overextension of the joints, and it is a fully standalone and is piloted by the wearer of the suit through every obstacle or test that they go through. And the overall purpose of the suit is to increase the mechanical strength and endurance of the wearer as they navigate situations that would simulate a firefighter during a rescue. So we are split into 3 sub-teams, and they focus on the distinct aspects of the suit. So the first is power systems. They focus on developing a battery management system, and that includes like the type of actuation at each joint, the type of battery used, and the electrical organization for all the wiring that we use. And then they also create a mechanism to safely attach and detach the battery from the exoskeleton for safety purposes. The structural team researches motors and gears and wires to enhance the human motion. And they would also design the circuit boards for the hardware. They then design and manufacture a wearable frame that secures all the motors and sensors and such while optimizing human motions. And then finally, the software team equips the exoskeleton with pressure and resistance sensors to ensure that we are communicating safely for communication for safety and control of the suit. And then also they develop the code that utilizes the information from the sensors and motors. So our current project progress, due to starting this team and the new project in November, combined with the remote environment, the team's progress has mostly been really in the research phase to ensure that during the building phase, all the components will align correctly. And so at this point in time, almost all of the necessary research in order to go into a phase 1 of our prototype has been completed, and the team plans on starting to build the 1/2 of the exoskeleton to give general members some hands-on experience with building. That being said, the power system team has completed all the necessary research for actuators and battery choice and electrical connections. The structural team has chosen to use a steel frame, and they have created a bunch of CAD models of the initial lower limb exoskeleton design. And currently the software team has completed the necessary research into microcontrollers and sensor implementation. And they've also trained members on compatible analytic software to analyze the test data for when we have a suit that's built. Yeah, so as QBMet does accept every applicant as a general member, we like to run workshops to make sure that everyone has the necessary skill set to participate in their chosen sub-teams. And so this year we were only able to run 2 workshops. We ran one for the structural team, which they went through a CAD workshop, and they were taught the basics of how to use SolidWorks and create parts and assemblies. And the software team, they ran a workshop to use Simulink and MATLAB for using control system models. Next year, we plan to host a few more of these workshops based on feedback and interest. Some possible options include circuit design using EagleCAD, ensuring members know how to use the machine shop, prototyping and design processes, or just a general biomechatronics workshop to provide an overview of passing curve research. So a bit about our competition that we hope to attend. We attend the Applied Collegiate Exoskeleton competition every year. The competition involves the use of rigid lower limb exoskeleton to increase the mechanical strength and endurance of the wearer for use in the projected application of firefighting. So the competition consists of a design review on the first day, where there's a panel of judges both from industry, and I think we have one fire chief that will come as well, and they evaluate the creativity and effectiveness of the design. The second day is then multiple obstacle courses and tests. There are 5 main obstacle courses that the wearer goes through. There is a crouch test where they walk under a board 2/3 your height. There is a stair test where you walk up 3 steps and across a platform and then back down 3 steps to test vertical mobility. There's a stepping stone test where you step on patterns of flat markers. There's an uneven terrain test to test balance. And then there's a balance beam test to test balance and mobility at the same time. And then based on timed results and also the team's overall kind of ability to complete these tests, there will be a winner who will be determined. This is a pretty new competition. I believe it's only 4 years old. It's only 1 year older than our team itself. And it's only been a conference for the past 2 years due to COVID. This year, the ACE competition is happening in person in May 2022, sorry, but due to a combination of the remote environment and also we only started our project this year in November, we've decided to limit our participation to the design review portion. And so we will be completing that over Zoom. So our finances, our team is able to build our exoskeleton thanks to sponsors. So this year we were sponsored by the ECE department, and we were given $2,500 from them in terms of funding. And we also received funding from SolidWorks in the form of student sponsorship. We got 60 free licenses for CAD Premium and a few of their other products. And we were just approved for $2,000 from the Winter Dean's donation, I think yesterday. And so we're really excited about that. We got $1,500 from the Student Initiatives Fund and $500 from the O1 Students Initiative Fund. Next year, we would hope to maintain our current sponsors, and we're also planning on reaching out to the Mechanical and Materials Engineering Department to also inquire about technical advice or monetary assistance in any form. And we also plan to submit both the Shell Fund and the Dean's donation for the fall and winter terms. A major goal for us in terms of sponsorship is to reach out to Canadian companies working in mechatronics industries to inquire both about monetary assistance and technical advice, because as we mentioned, we're one of the only undergraduate teams working in lower limb exoskeletons. So any guidance would definitely be welcome. And then finally, given the team's plans to buy parts and equipment, we also plan on reaching out to those companies and manufacturers we buy from to inquire about sponsorships in the forms of part or equipment donation. So the team's budget also just received approval. Super excited about that. And as a result, we're planning on purchasing a few components before the end of the year. The structure of the team's budget is currently allocated mostly to power systems and structural, because software currently doesn't require any components to be bought. So we have a current revenue of $4,500, and we're only planning on spending about $700 this year. So we'll have a net surplus of about $3,800. The power systems right now requires 2 actuators for the hip and knee joints, a microcontroller, 2 sensors, a motor driver, and some cables and wires just to connect components, as well as a fireproof bag for the battery. So that'll be about $500. And then the structural team requires some steel tubing for the frame, some Velcro straps, some clips, and some thermoplastic for custom molding, which is about $200. And so next year's budget will most likely include these same items in order to build the second half of the exoskeleton, as well as a few additions for extra expenses like events and workshops and community relations and such. So moving forward, the team obviously would like to complete a version 1 prototype of our exoskeleton to compete at next year's ACE competition. However, as this team is essentially starting from scratch this year, we also want to work on developing a positive relationship and reputation within the Queens community, and to kind of create a more well-known name. And so to do so, we also had a few administrative goals we wanted to work on over the summer and next year. So the first goal is hiring. We did all of our hiring this year during the school year, and so we did not have any time for planning before we had general members. And so the first goal was to hire, complete our executive hiring in the spring to allow them this summer to plan for the upcoming year. And this is a goal we were able to achieve, and we're currently in the process of electing co-captains and hiring the presidents of marketing, president of sponsorship, and president of finance, as well as 3 technical officer positions. Most of the interviews took place yesterday, and we have one more on Friday, and all of the positions were able to be filled. So we're really happy about that. And we will hire project managers at the start of the next school year, as well as general members. But general members we accept at any point. Our second major goal is to bring back our Innovations in Biomechatronics conference. This was a conference that was started the first year the team was in operation, and they were only able to run it the first year as well, just due to COVID complications. But this event introduces undergraduate students at Queens to mechatronics projects taking place right on campus. And it is with the intention of generating enthusiasm about mechatronics and getting students to expand their knowledge by participating in QBMet. But we also think that the conference garnered positive relations between QBMet and Queen's University staff. And the future conferences would also be relevant. In their first year of running the conference, they did have presentations by different professors at Queen's University on autonomous robots and exoskeletons, soft robotics and design, and off-road robotics. And they thought it was a really big success for them their first year. And our last goal is external relations, although within Queen's community, within clubs and other design teams. But we want to improve our external relations by partnering with other teams and clubs on campus. This year, we were able to participate in the Health and Business Tech Showcase run here at Queens, and we presented in a booth on our current progress, and we had a Q&A session for attendees. And we're also planning on we're currently preparing for a showcase of our progress for our software team on the QWeb design showcase, I think, which is happening at the beginning of April, and we're excited to participate in that. We had began conversations with the mechatronics program here at Queen's University to possibly be a first year client for their design course. But after some emails back and forth, we decided to pull out as a team just because we didn't have an executive willing or available to lead an initiative like that at that time. But based on positive response from attendees and from our members that were able to go to the conferences we participated in, we do plan on reaching out to more related showcases to host a booth. And we also hope by next year we would be able to take over the role of client in design courses. This is our team's email if you have any questions afterwards. And thank you for listening to my presentation. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
All right. Thank you, General Member Smith, for that presentation. If anyone has any questions for your QBMet, please put them in the speakers queue. There will also be time to ask questions in the debate period on the motions to approve this. Seeing none, thank you again for that presentation. And we will move on. We have, just to let everyone know, we have 17 motions to get through and then executive and director reports. So I'm going to do my best to get through them as quickly as possible, but we're in for a bit of a ride. Starting with motion 3. Whereas the incoming executive created and presented their summer plans, and whereas the incoming executive should be working effectively for the students throughout the summer, be it resolved that council approved the executive summer plans for the summer of 2022 as seen in appendix summer plans. Moved by Danny, what kind of tree fits in your hand, Rivard. Seconded by Jane, a palm tree, Cohen Wallace. Thirded by Evan, haha, so funny, Ray. Do the movers have an opening?
Yes, Evan Ray, Vice President, incoming Vice President of Operations. Yeah, so you guys saw our presentation. This is just the approval of it. So please approve this. If you have any questions, reach out to any of us. We'll put our emails in the chat.
Thank you, Vice President-elect Ray. Seeing nothing in the speakers queue, do you have a closing? Okay, thank you. So whereas the incoming executive created and presented their summer plans, and whereas the incoming executive should be working effectively for students throughout the summer, be it resolved that council approves the executive summer plans for the summer of 2022 as seen in appendix summer plans. Moved by Danny, what kind of tree fits in your hand, Rivard. Seconded by Jane, a palm tree, Cohen Wallace. Thirded by Evan, haha, so funny, Ray. You may now vote. Motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to motion 4. Whereas the incoming executive created and presented a summer budget, and whereas the incoming executive would like to use the budget this summer, be it resolved that council approved the executive summer budget for the summer of 2022 as seen in appendix summer budget. Moved by Danny, why couldn't the bad financial advisor move the debt, Rivard. Seconded by Evan, they couldn't budget, Ray. Thirded by Jane, haha, still not funny, Cohen Wallace. Do any of the movers have an opening? Okay, any debate on the motion? By the way, please do not let the fact that we're moving fast discourage you from putting in any debate if you have any on any of these motions. Okay, seeing none, do any of the movers have a closing? All right, with that, be it resolved that council approves the executive summer budget for the summer of 2022 as seen in appendix summer budget. Moved by Danny, why couldn't the bad financial advisor move the debt, Rivard. Seconded by Evan, they couldn't budget, Ray. Thirded by Jane, haha, still not funny, Cohen Wallace. I think it's funnier the third time we say it. You may now vote. And motion passes. Moving on to motion 5. Whereas we have seen a decline in recent years in engagement, connection, and awareness between students and the engineering semicolon, and whereas we should do something about it, be it resolved that council approve the changes to policy beta.a.1 as seen in appendix engaged to WED. Moved by Jonah, the Rabbi Opler, seconded by Danny, the mother of the bride, aka EngSoc, Rivard. Do any of the movers have an opening?
Yes, Jonah Opler, Sci 22 faculty board rep. That should say between students and the engineering society. I don't think I need to motion for an amendment. I believe that's
no. If you can consider that to be
Oh yeah, I'm the mover.
Be friendly.
I consider it to be friendly. Yes, so get ready for a lot of wedding jokes in these motions. So this is something I brought up at AGM. I would love to help I would love for this issue to start to be rectified. I think there has been a drop in these aforementioned things, and there will be an election coming up later in this council. Whether I am elected or not, I am hoping that this committee will be able to sort of just help students. My goal is for any student, whether they are an actively involved engineering society person, a mediumly involved engineering society person, or a totally uninvolved engineering society person. I want any undergrad engineering student, only if they pay their fees, to feel like they are a member of the engineering society, because every undergraduate engineering student who pays their fees is. And I feel that if you ask someone, especially someone who isn't involved, that question, are you a member of EngSoc? They would say no. And the answer is yes. And that is, in a whole nutshell, that's my goal. I want that to switch. And I really think we can make some awesome change. The mandate that I wrote in policy is very general, and that's purposeful. I think that there just hasn't been enough time over these past few weeks to really develop good and meaningful goals. And so that needs to be work that's done over the summer. So if you take a look at the policy, it's pretty general, but those goals ring true in improving engagement, improving awareness, improving connection and association between students and the society, and fostering a sense of community through the society. So I hope you'll vote to pass this, and this will also serve as my opening for the next one.
Thank you, Representative Opler. If anyone has any debate, please put your name in the speakers queue. Seeing none, Representative Opler, do you have a closing?
No.
Okay, thank you.
I might.
Oh, sorry.
I might.
Go ahead.
So incoming President Danielle Rivard, I just wanted to kind of branch off of what Noah said. It is very exciting that this engagement committee is kind of coming to a real thing, and it has a lot of room for growth, and it can focus on many aspects of engagement within EngSoc. And we hope that this committee is one of the first steps of really just bringing back that community feeling that Queen's Eng specifically is so known for. And we are very excited, and that we welcome any feedback or suggestions from anybody. Please reach out.
Thank you. By the way, incoming VP Ops, Ray, I'm not sure if you're intending to speak on this motion, but this is motion 5.
It's for the next one. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to check. So with that, we will now read the motion to be voted on. Be it resolved that council approve of the changes to policy beta.a.1 as seen in appendix engaged to be wed. Moved by Jonah the Rabbi Opler, seconded by Danny the mother of the bride, aka EngSoc Rivard. You may now vote. Motion passes. Moving on to motion 6, very similar. Whereas we just did policy, and whereas bylaw feels left out, be resolved that council approved of the changes to bylaw 9.d as seen in appendix Here Comes the Bride, moved by Jonah the Flower Girl Opler, seconded by Danny the Iron Ring Bearer Rivard. Do either of the movers have an opening?
I have an opening, yes. Same thing, now we're doing bylaw. This is the first reading of bylaw. Another one will need to go through in the fall because this is the last council. So don't forget about it, okay?
Thank you, Representative Opler. For debate, we'll start with VP Ops elect Ray.
Vice President of Operations elect Evan Ray. Yeah, I just wanted the motion to reflect that it was its first reading. So did council approve of the changes to bylaw 90 in its first reading?
Representative Opler and or President-elect Rivard, do you consider that amendment friendly?
She friendly.
Thank you. Director De Silva, could you tweak?
Sorry, could you just confirm the change?
Council approve, or be it resolved that council approve of the changes to bylaw 9.d in their first reading.
Yep.
As seen in appendix. So. Everyone good with that? Great. Any other debate on the motion? Seeing none, do either of the movers have a closing? All right. Thank you. And with that, be it resolved that council approve of the changes to bylaw 9.d in their first reading, as seen in appendix Here Comes the Bride, moved by Jonah the Flower Girl Opler, seconded by Danny the Iron Ring Bearer Rivard. You may now vote. Motion passes. Motion 7, whereas an engagement committee is to be established, and whereas every committee deserves a chair, be it resolved that blank be elected as engagement chair for the 2022 to 2023 academic year, moved by Jane, the DJ Cohen Wallace, seconded by Evan, the Wedding Crasher Ray. So first we have to go into an election procedure for this. So I believe Director De Silva, could you remind me, do we start with an opening before that, or do we do the election immediately?
Andrew Silva, Director of Governance. We will start with an opening from the movers.
Thank you. Thank you for the
there
reminder.
we will go with nominations.
Yeah, thank you for a reminder. Blanked on procedure there. Do either of the movers have an opening for this?
Yes. So Vice President of Operations elect Evan Ray. Yeah, so as we just passed those motions to put the engagement committee in policy and the first round of bylaw, we'd like to elect the chair for next year so that we can sort of get working with them, as you saw in our summer plan over the summer. So yeah, if you would like to be nominated, you can nominate yourself or have someone nominate you.
Thank you, Director / VP Select Ray. If you would like to nominate someone or nominate yourself or in any way speak to this, please put your name in the speakers queue for motion 7, starting with Vice President Edwards.
Edwards, Vice President, Student Affairs. I would like to nominate Joan Opler.
Seconded.
Thank you. Representative Opler.
Respectfully accept.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak to this or nominate anyone? There's a few things in there. Okay, seeing none. Do we have any? So I believe Representative Opler would be our only candidate then. At this point, do either of the movers, and then if they run out, we can go to anyone in council. Do either of the movers have any questions for the nominee?
Yep. So we have one, and I guess if we're doing 3, we'll open up the other 2 to council.
We can do up to 3, yes.
Yeah. So Vice President of Operations elect Evan Ray. So my question would be, given the fact that the mandate of this committee is so wide open, sort of what do you hope to do to sort of clarify that, and then sort of how are you going to balance your time to sort of focus on a wide variety of possible mandates?
Good question. So yes, the mandate is purposefully wide so that we can tackle, a wide range of things, as Danny mentioned before in her closing, to make sure that we actually get things done throughout the summer. And at the beginning of the school year next year, I hope to be able to start to formulate actual actionable items and continue to formulate those items as the year goes on. And in terms of getting things done, we will be hopefully electing a committee in the next motion. And so having some people actually be on the committee to get things done will be helpful. And in addition to that, we want to consult, I would love to consult lots of people so that we get lots of opinions and lots of input that's helpful. but keeping the committee limited to a smaller number of people so that there aren't too many cooks, and that we can like really push forward with our goals.
Thank you, nominee Opler, for that. Next question will go to Vice President Edwards.
Edwards, Vice President Student Affairs. So as the engagement committee chair, how will you foster positive relationships within your team and encourage people to kind of reach out and grow this portfolio, since it's something that's quite new?
Great question. In terms of fostering relationships with the team, I like to get down to business, but I'm kind of jokes. I love to keep things light in my meetings. I have lots of leadership experience, especially EngSoc leadership experience, and I know what it takes to make a team feel happy in what they're doing, but also feel like, you know, they want to get the work done. And so I'll employ tactics such as, you know, making sure that you're always cracking jokes on the side, and continually encouraging people, always giving positive feedback, as well as constructive criticism or other types of constructive feedback. Second part of the question was, I'm not totally sure at this point, if you want to clarify.
I think you pretty much it was probably wordy. I think you already answered it.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
All right, thank you to Vice President Edwards and to nominee Opler. Does anyone else have a question? If you do, please put your name in the speakers queue. Okay, seeing none, we will put the nominee in the breakout. Oh. Okay. I'm assuming that's not actually a question. Seeing none, we will put the nominee in the breakout room while we vote. And with that, Director De Silva, is the poll ready to go?
Point of information, before we do start the poll, if anybody would like to debate their confidence in Jonah, now is the time, if you'd like.
Yep, if there's any debate to the election, remember this is the election. We will, once it is decided what the blank will be filled in with, we will vote on the motion. If anyone has any debate to the election, please step forward with that. Seeing none, we can go forward with that election poll.
Yep, just give me 1 second.
You may now vote. And nominee Opler is elected. Thank you. I'll readmit. Congratulations, nominee Opler, on your election. We'll now go back to the motion. If anyone has any further debate on the motion, please put your name in the speakers queue under motion 7. Seeing none, we will move on. Do any of the movers have a closing? Not hearing a closing. Be it resolved that Jonah Opler be elected as engagement chair for the 2022 to 2023 academic year, moved by Jane, the DJ Cohen Wallace, seconded by Evan, the wedding crasher Ray. You may now vote. Motion passes. Congratulations to Engagement Chair Opler. And a related motion, motion 8, whereas an engagement committee is to be established, and whereas there is no committee without the committee members, be resolved that blank be elected as members of the engagement committee for the 2022 to 2023 academic year. Moved by Jane, the maid of honor, Cohen Wallace, second by Evan, the bridesmaid who's low-key salty they're not the maid of honor, Ray. Do either of the movers have an opening?
So same thing, similar to before. Obviously, we've elected a chair now. We'd like a committee to sit underneath that chair. And one amendment, we would like to put 3 blanks to hopefully elect 3 people if we have enough candidates. Yeah.
Thank you. Is there, just to clarify, for this election, is there a limit on the number of members?
We are hoping for a maximum of 3 just to keep the team small for the purpose that Jonah listed, so that they can be productive, also so they can meet more regularly. That's one thing we've struggled with larger teams, is finding times to meet on a weekly basis.
Good. Okay, so yeah, and Chair Opler clarified in the chat up to 3. By the way, if there's a situation like that and anyone knows the answer, you can raise a point of information on that. With that, we will go to the speakers queue, starting with Vice President Edwards.
Kai Edwards, Vice President Student Affairs. Just a, I guess, quick question regarding the number of members and potentially a suggestion. It might be nice to open up another position in the fall, because I know that there's a lot of students coming back from internship, and we're like electing people, but this has just gone into policy, so it's not really out there yet. So I guess it's just a thought for you guys if you wanted to get more people kind of outside the usual council attendees.
Point of personal privilege, perhaps?
Perhaps a direct response?
I'm not a mover, but anyways, Joan Opler, faculty board, Sci 22 faculty board rep. Yes, that is something that has been on my mind. Thank you for that great suggestion.
Thank you. By the way, I don't believe a direct response needs to be mover, just someone who the question could be directed at. But moving on to Representative Opler.
Yeah, I don't know if, sorry, Joan Opler, Sci 22 faculty board rep. I don't know if this is allowed, but someone who I've been speaking to who is interested in being nominated has to leave for a short time. So I would like to motion to move this later in council.
You can, yeah, we can move to table this motion to later in council.
Okay.
We have to vote on that.
Yeah, okay, so I would like to motion to table this to
is there a seconder for that?
Seconded.
Okay, thank you. Richard De Silva, can we have a quick poll on that?
Yes, give me 2 seconds here.
The speaker's queue will remain intact in that time. It will still be considered motion 8. And so if your name's in the speaker's queue, it'll still be in the speaker's queue when we come back to it, assuming that this motion to table that passes. And for the information of Representative Opler and or anyone else, if you believe it's a fair time to bring this motion back, you can motion to bring that back from the table, I believe is the wording. I'll accept that wording.
Julia Takamoto, Sci 22 Pres. Sorry, I'm in the speaker's queue. I just was wondering if it would make more sense to table this motion and bring it back in the fall so that there's adequate time to advertise these positions. And I'm also just curious, are these positions that need to be elected members of council? Are these positions that are open to the general student body? Has that been decided yet?
Direct response, Jonah Oper, side 25 rep. Yeah, so when I brought this up last council, there were a fair amount of people there. Granted, it has not been like openly publicized to the Engineering Society, which also, I will be completely open, sort of seems counterintuitive because the whole point is to increase engagement. However, I will clear that up. I feel it's important that the people that are actually serving on this committee are very knowledgeable in terms of with EngSoc affairs, and that we do consultation with a very great number of people, especially including people who are not knowledgeable with EngSoc affairs. So in terms of tabling this motion to the fall, I would like for there to be elected members going into the summer. But as Kaya mentioned and as I addressed, I am also open to electing more people in the fall. So I would still like to go forward to tabling this motion to the end of council.
Right. Thank you. Director De Silva, is that poll available at this point?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Can we put the question on the on tabling the motion? It's a procedural motion, so there's no opening or closing of debate on it. Motion passes. So we will table that, and again, yeah, we may reconsider, we may motion to bring that back from the table at any point later this council. Then we will move on for the time being to motion 9, which is, sorry, I'm lost here. Motion 9, whereas the EngSoc directors put in hundreds of hours and work incredibly hard to make Queen's Engineering the amazing experience that it is, and whereas they should have an honorarium to reflect their hard work, be it resolved that Council approves the changes to policy section, to some policy section anyways, as seen in Appendix Director Honorarium, moved by Benjamin Frost, seconded by Christina Bissell, thirded by Kaya Edwards. Do any of the movers have an opening?
Yes. President Christina Yodelehihu, Pepto Yodelehihu Bissell. This past year, the executive have seen how much work goes into each of the directors' portfolio, and we wanted to honor this hard work by implementing honorariums for the future directors based on the submissions of transition manuals reflecting the policy around honorariums in place for executive. Each year, council will approve that each director has earned their honorarium based on the submission of a transition manual no later than the Friday of week 8 of the winter semester. So this is sort of just another means to show appreciation, and we hope that you guys approve it. Thank you.
Thank you, President Bissell. Is there any debate on this motion? Is that Director De Silva? Is that a different Andrew?
That's Andrew De Silva, Director of Governance. I would like to amend the motion to include actual policy change. So it is beta C.16. So
movers consider that to be
friendly.
If it's very friendly, I hope I can.
Yes.
Extremely friendly.
If there's any other debate on the motion, please put your name in the speakers queue. Otherwise, we will move on to a closing. Do any of the, oh, is that someone in the speakers queue? Nope, okay. Do any of the movers have a closing?
President Christina Pepto Yodelehihu Bissell, no closing. Thank you very much for your support in your executive director team for future years.
Thank you. And with that, be it resolved that council approves the changes to policy section beta.c.16 as seen in Appendix Director Honorarium, moved by Benjamin Frost, seconded by Christina Bissell, thirded by Kaya Edwards. You may now vote. Motion passes. Moving on then to motion 10, whereas bursary policy was sad and whereas we need to make bursary policy happy, be it resolved that council approves the changes made to section row of policy, society bursaries, moved by Jeevan, the Tim's diet is the best diet, Salvaraja, seconded by Christina, Pepto Yodeli, he, what even is this name, who, Bissell. Do either of the movers have an opening?
Jeevan Salvaraja, Director of Social Issues. Yes, bursary policy in the past was not very specific and clear. So over the reading week, I made some edits, included a timeline, and made bursary policy a bit clearer and I guess more readable. So that's why I'm making the policy change now, just so it's a bit clearer in the future. And yeah. Also, we're reflecting changes made to bursary automation that was done over the reading week. That's just to make bursaries more efficient within the engineering society.
Great, thank you, Director Salvaraja. Does anyone have debate on that motion? And by the way, could we get a hopefully friendly amendment to indicate the appendix name? I believe it's bursary policy updated. Read it. Movers, would that be considered friendly?
Yes.
Thank you. Seeing no debate, does anyone have or do either of the movers have a closing on the motion?
Jeevan Salvaraja, Director of Social Issues, no closing.
Thank you. With that, be it resolved that council approves the changes made to section row, saying bursary policy updated, moved by Jeevan, the Tim's diet is the best diet, Salvaraja, seconded by Christina, Pepto Yodelihi, what even is this name, who, Bissell. You may now vote. Motion passes. Moving on to motion 11, whereas DOSI policy got debated by changes this year, and whereas Jeevan made DOSI policy undebated, be it resolved that council approves the changes made to section beta.c.14, Director of Social Issues, moved by Jeevan, it's Salvaraja, seconded by Christina, totally radical, Bissell.
Haha, I'm back. Hello, Jeevan Salvaraja, Director of Social Issues. I just made a couple edits to bursary policy, or not bursary policy, DOSI policy, removed December 6th and changed that because December 6th is being run by the Director of External Events. Yeah, those were just some minor policy changes that were made.
Thank you. Does anyone have any debate on this motion? Seeing none, we will move on to closing if there is any from movers.
I don't have any.
Thank you. With that, be resolved that council approved the changes made to section beta.c.14, Director of Social Issues, moved by Jeevan Salvaraja, seconded by Christina Bissell. You may now vote. Motion passes. Moving on to motion 12. Whereas the biomechatronics team QBMet is a design club who wants to be a design team, and whereas Let's Make It Happen, be it resolved that council approves the changes to policy section kappa.b as seen in appendix QBMet policy, moved by Marissa Beep Boop Smail, seconded by Jane Boop Beep Kovanich. Do either of the movers have an opening? Please.
I'm Marissa Snell, co-captain of the Queen's Biomechatronics team. Just as I mentioned in our presentation, we are currently ratified as a design club, and after operations this year and confirming our participation in the ACE competition, we would like to be ratified as a design team.
Thank you. Does anyone have any debate on this motion? Seeing none, do either of the movers have a closing?
Just thank you for listening to my presentation today.
Okay, thank you for that. With that, be it resolved that council approves the changes to policy section B as seen in appendix QB policy. Moved by Marissa Smale, seconded by Jane. Seconded. It's been a long council. Seconded by Jen Kovanich. You may now vote. Motion passes. Motion 13. Whereas the Queen's Biomechatronics team is a design club who wants to be a design team, and the Queen's electric car team was mistakenly added to the list of design teams instead of design clubs. And whereas let's fix this, be it resolved that council approve the changes to bylaw 10.e in its first reading as seen in appendix QB bylaw. Moved by Marissa Beep Boop Beep Smale, seconded by Jen Boop Beep Boop Kovanich. Do either of the movers have an opening?
Just Marissa Smale, co-captain of the Queen's Biomechatronics team, same as last time.
Thank you. Does anyone have any debate on this motion? Seeing none, do either of the movers have a closing?
Point of information, categories Vice President Student Affair. I believe it needs to say in its, oh, sorry, never mind. My mistake. I can't read.
All good. Looking for a closing from either of the movers. Seeing none. Be it resolved that council approve the changes to bylaw 10.e in its first reading as seen in appendix QB bylaw. Moved by Marissa Smale, seconded by Jen Kovanich. You may now vote. Motion passes. Moving on to motion 14. Whereas the Queen's Biomechatronics team is a oh, wait. Hold on a moment. I believe we have a duplicate motion there. Director De Silva, could you clarify?
I believe so. Sorry about that with transition and all that. Some things do slip my vision there. So we will skip that.
Yeah, no worries. I believe we're not allowed to vote on the same thing twice anyways. So that motion 14 is out of order. So no worries on that. So moving on then, is that what the perhaps what the Ben in the speakers queue was going to get at? I'm not sure. But
point of information, it says the reason why is because it says second reading. I don't think we can do that.
Yeah, so that's out of order. We cannot do a first and second reading in the same council. So the second reading will have to be submitted to the Director of Governance in the fall for consideration at first council or perhaps at another council in the fall. Thank you for noting that though. So motion 14 is out of order. Moving on to motion 15. Whereas policy section beta.b.2.6 subsection B requires that the executive salary be approved by council every March. And whereas inflation is 7% in 2021, be it resolved that council approves that the executive salary for 2022 to 2023 be $22.76 per hour in accordance with the annual average CPI that was 3.4%, moved by Benjamin I. Frost, seconded by Christina Ann Bissell, thirded by Kaya Washed Up Edwards. Do any of the movers have an opening?
President Christina, Pepto, Yodelehihu, Bissell. Yes, inflation was really high this year because of the pandemic and also because of the supply chain stuff and all that stuff in the economy, blah, 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 blah. Either way, we would like to give the incoming executives the same reflection in their pay that we got. And so we are increasing it by the 3.4%, which is reflected of the CPI according to the Canadian Bank. Thank you.
Thank you, President Bissell. Does anyone have any debate on this motion? Seeing none, we will then move on to a closing if there is any from the movers.
No closing.
Thank you. Be it resolved that council approves that the executive salary for 2022 to 2023 be $22.76 an hour in accordance with the annual average CPI, which was 3.4%, moved by Benjamin Frost, seconded by Christina Bissell, thirded by Kaya Edwards. You may now vote. Motion passes. Moving on to motion 16, whereas
Point of order.
Yeah.
President Christina Pepto Yodelehihu Bissell, did we not just approve this motion a few motions ago?
I thank you. I was about to note that.
Yep.
Director De Silva, is there a?
No, that yeah, you're totally right.
Okay.
We will skip this.
I think someone was just trying to scare me with the length of the agenda. Moving on then, as motion 16 is out of order. Moving on to motion 17. Whereas Kwesi, aka Queen's University Engineering Society Services Incorporated, financial statements for the past fiscal year have been reviewed by the board and auditor. And whereas the auditor has provided confirmation of reviewal, which is now presented at council, be it resolved that Kwesi's financial statements for the fiscal year ending on May 31st, 2021 are accepted, moved by Miranda Bungard, seconded by David Strong. Do either of the movers have an opening?
Hi there, Miranda Bungard, student chair of Kwesi. Just essentially KPMG gave us, or he has reviewed our documents and has given us all clear. We're within we are in accordance with the Canadian accounting standards for nonprofit. There is a document which I think I sent it to Director of Governance, but I also have it here if people want to share, but it essentially just summarizes what I just said. Is that something the council would like to see?
Perhaps I believe it was sent out to council as an appendix titled Auditor Report May 31st, 2021.pdf.
Perfect. Okay. So I guess everyone has access to it. So, well, that's it then. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Bungard. Whoops, does anyone have any debate on this motion? Okay, whoops. Representative Opler.
Jonah Opler, Sci 22 faculty board rep. I'm just wondering if it is in order for David Strong to be a seconder on a motion, given that he is not a member of the Engineering Society.
So he does actually classify as a member of the Engineering Society in this circumstance. So that's why he's going through. In Kwesi's circumstances, he does qualify essentially.
That is dope.
Yeah. Yeah. Good question though. Thank you for asking.
Give me a moment with that.
I have a little blurb actually that I would have, where I am going to say for the next one actually, but essentially in the documentation for Kwesi when it comes to the composition of the board, 11 positions of the board are made for members of the Engineering Society, and it doesn't specify it's not just students, solely students, sorry. In this case, the faculty are engaged in this.
And to clarify, I do believe actually Professor Strong qualifies as an alumni member of the Engineering Society. So for the purposes of just being completely clear with bylaw, I don't think that's a concern. Might be something to think about being clear on in the future, but I don't think, I don't see any reason why that's out of order. But thank you for the question and for the clarification.
Thank you for both of you.
Is there any other debate on the motion? Seeing none, do either of the movers have a closing?
I do not, thank you.
Okay, with that, be it resolved that Kwesi's financial statements for the fiscal year ending on May 31st, 2021 are accepted. Moved by Miranda Bungard, seconded by David Strong. You may now vote. Motion passes. With that, moving on to motion 18, whereas the Kwesi Nomination Committee has created a slate of proposed directors for the 2022 to 2023 term, and whereas the incoming team needs to be ratified, be it resolved that the following individuals are elected to the Kwesi Board of Directors for the 2022 to 2023 term: Benjamin Frost, Brett McGonigal, Andrea Ramirez, Nick Arnold, Kayana Lee LaSalle Minor, Laura Lee, Aidan Shimizu, Danielle Rivard, Evan Ray, David Strong, Robert Noble. Moved by Miranda Bungard, seconded by David Strong. Do either of the movers have an opening?
Similar to what I said for the past motion, 11 members of the Engineering Society do represent a portion of the board, and the nominating committee has gathered this slate together, and we'd like to move it forward and ratify them.
Thank you. Is there any debate on this motion? Seeing none, do either of the movers have a closing?
I do not, thanks.
Great. With that, be it resolved that the following individuals be elected to the Kwesi Board of Directors for the 2022 to 2023 term: Benjamin Frost, Brett McGonigal, Andrea Ramirez, Nick Arnold, Kayana Lee LaSalle Minor, Laura Lee, Aidan Shimizu, Danielle Rivard, Evan Ray, David Strong, and Robert Noble. Moved by Miranda Bungard, seconded by David Strong. You may now vote. Motion passes. Moving on to motion 19, whereas the president, BPSA, and VP Ops are old and completely washed up, and whereas the honorarium is awarded at the end of the executive's term, be it resolved that council approve the honoraria of 1 week's pay, $770.35 to the Engineering Society President, Christine Bissell, Vice President of Student Affairs, Kaya Edwards, and Vice President of Operations, Benjamin Frost. Moved by Kaya Bissell, sorry, by Christina Bissell, seconded by Kaya Edwards, thirded by Ben Frost. Do any of the movers, who I sincerely apologize to there, have an opening?
Yes, President Christina Pepto Yodelehihu Bissell. This is in line with policy section under the executives. The first one, I believe it's ADA, section B, B 2.6 A double I, right under our weekly summer pay, just to clarify that it is in policy and it is at your discretion. Thank you.
Thank you, President Bissell. Looking for any debate on the motion?
I believe we typically, Kaya and I, and Ben, if he were here, sorry, point of order, President Christina Pepto Yodelehihu Bissell, Kaya, myself, Ben, and would step into a breakout room or leave the room so that you guys can have an open, honest discussion about whether or not we deserve these honorariums.
That's fair. Director De Silva, if we want to take care of that.
All right, you're good. Oh, wait. Yep, they're in the waiting room now.
Okay. With that, if there's any debate, please put your name in the speakers queue under motion 19. Oh, I see someone put their cursor there. Is that okay? It's gone. So seeing none, I think we can bring them back now to give the closing. And thank you, President Bissell and Vice President Edwards. Do either of you have a closing?
No.
Great. So with that, be resolved that council approve the honoraria of 1 week's pay, $770.35 to the Engineering Society President, Christina Bissell, Vice President of Student Affairs, Kaya Edwards, and Vice President of Operations, Benjamin Frost. Moved by Christina Bissell, Kaya Edwards, or seconded by Kaya Edwards, third by Ben Frost. You may now vote. Motion passes.
I would like to bring forth a point of order.
Yep, Representative Opler on point of order.
Yes, Jonah Opler, side 22 faculty board rep. I'd like to bring back motion 9 from the table. We're gonna untable.
Thank you.
Motion 8. I'm at motion 8.
Yeah, I was about to say you're referring to motion 8.
Yes, I would like to motion for motion 8 to be brought back to the table.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that?
Seconded.
Thank you. Director De Silva, can we get a poll on that quickly? Motion passes. So we are re-entering the debate on, or the nomination period for the election under motion 8. At this point, we'll continue the speakers queue with President Takamoto.
Point of order, just a reminder, we are going to be electing up to 3.
Can you hear us?
Yes. Someone's unmuted here. But yes, we're going for up to 3. But President Takamoto.
I accept.
What?
What? No.
You put your name in the speakers queue.
I was going to nominate somebody. Never mind. I'm sorry. I have 2 separate audio feeds coming in right now.
Okay. No worries.
I fully just assumed that was somebody nominating me. Apologies. I was going to nominate Kaya Edwards.
Seconded.
Vice President Edwards.
Edward, given that I am the speaker and this committee involves kind of presentations to council, I feel of interest. So for that reason, I would like to respectfully decline.
Okay. Thank you, Vice President Edwards. Moving on to Representative, I believe, Galsworthy.
Haley Galsworthy, Vice President of Sci 25. I'd like to nominate Sabrina Button.
Seconded.
Second.
Sabrina Button, Sci 25 President, I accept.
Okay, thank you, President Button, and my apologies on the title, Vice President Galsworthy. Moving on then to Vice President-elect Cohen Wallace.
Hi, I would like to nominate Julia Takamoto.
Seconded.
I will accept.
Fantastic. Moving on then to Representative Opler.
Jonah Opler, side 22 faculty board rep. I have 2 nominations I'd like to make. First, I would like to nominate Aiden Shimizu. Someone would like to second that?
Seconded.
Accept.
Secondly, I would like to nominate Ali Bakit.
I accept. Thank you.
Seconded.
Fantastic, thank you. If there's any more nominations, President-elect Rivard.
Sorry. President-elect Danielle Rivard, I would like to nominate Noah. Sorry.
Seconded.
I don't know your last name.
President Wyman, I believe that is.
Yeah, Noah Wyman, please.
I'm very grateful, but I will be on internship, so I need to respectfully decline. Thank you, though.
All right, any other nominations? Please put your name in the speakers queue. Seeing none, we will move on to
sorry, Nick. Can I nominate someone? Sorry,
Vice President Edwards.
Thank you. Vice President Edwards, I would like to nominate.
Sorry, Vice President Edwards, your audio cut out there.
Allison Wong.
Seconded.
Did I hear an accept from Director Wong?
Yes, I accept.
Fantastic. Any other nominations? Please put your name in the speakers queue. Seeing none, we will then move on to nominee questions. So just to clarify, Director De Silva, do we have a list of the nominees?
Yes, so Andrew Silva, Director of Governance. So I do want to confirm, I have been trying to make the polls at the same time to save us some time. But Julia Takamoto, sorry, Sabrina Button, Ali Bakit, and then Allison Wong.
I believe there was also Aiden Shimizu on there. Am I wrong?
Yeah, Aiden Shimizu. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, I skipped that one.
Did we miss anyone other than that? Okay, I'm assuming not then. So I believe that is 5. For my reference, Director De Silva, could you send me that list in direct message so I can ask or manage the questions? So with that, we'll go to nominee questions. We'll start with the movers. We'll have up to 3 questions total. Given the number of people we are going to limit to, I believe 30 seconds would be fair. Do any of the movers have a problem with that for a response for each question?
30 seconds seems appropriate.
Okay, thank you. So we'll start with the movers then. Do the movers have any questions?
Yep. Vice President of Operations-elect Evan Ray. So my question for all of the people that would like to be on this committee is, what is sort of one direction that you would like to see the engagement committee head in next year? And sort of how would you help and further that on the committee next year?
Okay, thank you. We'll start with nominee Button.
So I would really like to see a connection between years that have only experienced COVID years, so Sci-24 and Sci-25. I know my year especially feels really far removed from traditions, and I've seen a lot of that, and I've talked to a lot of people about that, and I think that I would be able to provide a really good perspective on why that disconnect is there and bringing us all back together. So I've been able to figure out what works, and I'm going to be able to employ that.
Thank you, nominee Button. Moving on to nominee Takamoto.
Yeah, one of the directions I'd really love to see out of the engagement committee is in-person outreach to students. I think everyone is really excited to be back on campus. Everyone is excited to be back in EngSoc spaces, and we can do a lot of work just advertising directly within EngSoc spaces, face-to-face with people. It opens up the possibilities for a lot of really great direct conversations, and that can build a lot of in-depth understanding of what EngSoc is and what we do.
Thank you. Moving on to nominee Shimizu.
Hi, yeah, I would like to see an investigation into the way we do marketing, the way that we connect with our students, the way we pass information to our students. I did a lot of work working on how we market to students and how we can best get students involved with our activities, specifically events and initiatives this year. And I was very successful with it. And I'd like to see, I guess, how we can employ that in a more overarching way within the engineering society and to all positions across the board.
Thank you, nominee Shimizu. Moving on to nominee Bakit.
Seeing as next year only Sci 6, Sci 4, and Sci 5 will be the years there, and seeing as Sci 3 would be the only year that had a full on-campus experience that with no online facets, I feel it's very important to reiterate what the engineering society is and what it does, seeing as up to third year students next year will have a brief idea of what's going on. So having overarching events, having more marketing, having a more introductory explanation of what the engineering society is and does would be needed in order to bridge that gap.
Wait, thank you, nominee Bakit. Moving on to nominee Wong.
I agree with Julia Takamoto about doing more in-person outreach. I would also like to do more feedback initiatives to really be able to talk to the different years and students, especially the students who have not been previously involved with EngSoc. And so that would include doing things like sitting in the ILC lobby and connecting to students as they walk by. I would also like to work with other campus groups, especially like first year residences. We have an engineering living and learning community, LLC. I will also be working with the resident society next semester. So that is another way that I can contribute to this committee by connecting with the groups in residence to reach out to students directly there. And all in all, I would just like to see that we take from students and actually use it and apply it. Thank you.
We're at 30 seconds. But thank you. Do we have any other questions?
Nope, I would like to open it up to council for one or two or possibly two more questions.
Okay, so that will go to engagement chair Opler then.
Slide 22, faculty board rep Jonah Opler. My question to the candidates is, why are you passionate about addressing the Engineering Society's issues regarding student engagement, connection, awareness, and community? Engagement, connection, awareness, and community.
Thank you. And we'll go in the opposite order then. So we'll start with nominee Wong. You have 30 seconds.
I'm passionate about this because I was a director in my first EngSoc role and I was not previously involved, and I discovered that even though I wasn't sort of in the original extroverted bubble, I found that this was a really great experience, and the Engineering Society has so much to offer to its students. And I think it's really important that students feel and know that that we are here to support them and provide these opportunities. And I think it's really important that they understand that they have a voice here.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on then to nominee Bakit.
Excuse me. I'm really passionate about addressing the issues that are currently here because the Engineering Society adds a lot of value to any one person's engineering experience. The skills that you can learn and what you can get out of here and what you can give back to the community, that's all really important for the engineering community and for every single individual who interacts there. So improving that and making sure everyone is aware of the opportunities that they have and making sure it's accessible to everyone is something that I find really important, just to make sure that everyone has a fair shot at improving themselves so the resources are already given to them.
Thank you. We will move on to nominee Shimizu.
Yeah, just from what I've seen with my positions in the Engineering Society, I think we have so much to offer that is not used to its full potential by students, and that I think there's so many issues we can tackle that can try and target that and make sure that students are able to use our services to their full extent. There's also to offer all the services that we have, we need people to run that, and so people need to be aware of these opportunities to be involved in the Engineering Society in these positions. And yeah.
Thank you. We'll move on to nominee Takamoto.
Thanks. I would say there's kind of two main reasons. One is that the Engineering Society provides so many valuable opportunities to students. A lot of the different positions that students can be involved in are actually like career-changing opportunities and can make a really big impact on a student's like future employment options. And that's really, really valuable. And the other one is that I think the more students we have involved within the Engineering Society, the more we can address a lot of the different issues that are present within the community.
Thank you. And we will move on finally to nominee Button.
Yeah, so one thing that really stuck out to me is earlier Jonah said that people don't see themselves as members of the engineering society. And often I'll like bring up council to one of my friends and they'll be like, oh yeah, you're in EngSoc. And I'm like, yeah, but so are you. And I really want to bring that back to people because being in the engineering society has opened so many doors for me. I've made a lot of great friends and I've just felt so welcome. And I want the rest of my year that hasn't been able to feel that. And Sci-24 as well, Sci-23, to be able to feel that as well, because I think it's a really good opportunity.
Thank you. For the final question, we'll go to Vice President Edwards.
Yes. So my question is, there's a very large scope for this project. It's very general. So how will you work with the incoming exec and the incoming directors to accomplish some of these goals?
Thank you, Vice President Edwards. We'll start original order with nominee Button.
So I think a big thing coming out of the pandemic is definitely defining a new normal. So when we talk about engagement, we can talk about that in a new way as well. So definitely talking about how we can make EngSoc more accessible to different groups of people, make it more diverse, and make not only people know that there are places to get involved, but also that they are wanted, they're needed, and there is a place for them here. And then basically just communicating and just figuring out the best way that we can let people know that they are able to join EngSoc.
Thank you. We'll go then to, sorry, I've lost my list, nominee Takamoto.
Thank you. I think working with the ED team, it's both important to do short-term planning and long-term planning. This is, an overarching committee, and I think it's important to do long-term goal setting and strategic planning for how can we increase engagement, not only this year on this one particular event that this director is running, but also long-term within their portfolio and within the engineering society. How do we increase engagement over the next 3 years, the next 5 years?
Oh, sorry, I was muted. We'll move on to nomination music.
Yeah, so being a part of the ED team this year, I think I've got a pretty good understanding of the way we operate. And so I definitely is important, like Julia said, to be thinking long term. It's important that we aren't tackling just the new ED team, but looking at making sure that this is included in transition. So I think communication is a really important component to this. So making sure that these documents get shared throughout all of the engineering society and specifically with the ED team is really important. Yeah, just ensuring that everyone gets all of the information we gather.
Thank you. And we'll move on to nominee Bakit.
I believe it's important to not only look into the ED team and executive team, but also look at other facets of EngSoc and stuff that is often overlooked and is usually not even considered to be EngSoc. For example, when I mention icons to people, they're like, oh, is that actually related to EngSoc? And looking at all of those small roles and positions that are facilitated by the engineering society and explaining, hey, this is part of EngSoc, here's your opportunity, and here's how you access it, as well as working with the ET team and executive team is really important just to have a more overarching fulfillment of engagement for all people.
Thank you. And we will go then to nominee Wong.
Also, as a member of the current ED team, I have a strong understanding of the ED team members' roles and their different portfolios, what is relevant to each director. And so I would communicate with the current members of the incoming ED team, and I would like to see what their ideas are because, of course, they're the ones on the forefront of initiating a lot of the next steps that we want to take. And so seeing what their ideas are and making sure that they feel like a part of this discussion, a part of this conversation, even though technically this committee is about oversight. So bringing them in collaboratively with our committee.
Thank you to all the nominees. I believe we are at the end of our questions now. So we'll then put the nominees in the breakout room. If you can take care of that, Director De Silva, and we'll have any final discussion and then the election, and then we'll bring the nominees back for the final debate and vote on the motion itself. With that, oh, they're not, hold on, they're not all in the breakout room yet. Okay, so that's done. With that, we will move to discussion on the election. If you have anything to say on the election, please put your name in the speakers queue under motion 8. I'll wait a few seconds for that, and then we'll move to the election itself. Seeing nothing in the speakers queue. A quick, Director De Silva, just because, okay, sorry, we'll go to Representative Opler.
Sorry, I'm not going to speak like in favor of any nominees. I don't think that's appropriate, but I want people to keep in mind like discussion that happened at the last council as well, because some of that was somewhat related to this. There were a lot of good points brought forth by some of these nominees as well. So I just encourage you not to like take these questions, but also, you know, take what else has been said in council.
Thank you. Vice President Edwards.
Hopefully you guys can hear me. Sorry, Edwards, Vice President Student Affairs. Yeah, just like not speaking in favor of anything, just I think that it's a very strong pool of applicants. I think that we have a lot of really different experience. So I would encourage people to kind of like, it is a small committee, so really try to get that range of who you think is kind of has the most diverse opinions, because I think that's really going to help like obviously strengthen Jonah's committee. And that's just my 2 cents on that.
Thank you, Vice President Edwards. With that, Director De Silva, if you could just, because this is something we don't do very often, where there's a limited number of people, but it's not just one, and just could you clarify for everyone in council how the voting will actually work?
Yeah, Andrew Sill, Director of Governance. So the way that we will be doing the voting, every voter has 3 votes, and we will run through each person individually in a poll. So the way it'll work, I'll start at 1 person. You get 3 votes in total. So what's that? The question will be, do you have confidence in X as a member of the engagement committee? And then from there, it's yes, no, abstain. And so if you vote yes on that first person, then you now have 2 votes, and then we'll run through each individual person. And from there, I believe we should, if someone does get a majority, so over 50%, then they will be voted in as an engagement committee member.
Thank you for clarifying that. With that,
point of order, sorry, it's only people that get a majority vote and not just the top 3 vote getters. Is that correct?
Yes, majority vote.
Yeah.
And point of information as well is that all of the candidates are actually voters at the moment. So for this stage, we will reduce the majority by 5, but when they actually come back for the actual motion, that majority will go back to the current number of voters attending the council.
Yeah, and I guess just a note of how we're going to interpret the votes, because with abstentions playing into it as well, that could be confusing. You can say yes up to 3 times, but I suppose for determining whether someone has received a majority of the votes, we'll look at the number of yeses and the number of noes, and if the number of yeses is greater than the number of noes, then that's a simple majority of the votes, because people can abstain. That's generally the interpretation of majority for votes where there's a yes, a no, and an abstain option. Is the abstain just removes your vote from consideration at all. Director De Silva, is that correct? I believe.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments before we go into the election itself? Okay, seeing none. Director Silver, could you start putting the questions in? Okay, thank you. I think we're good with that poll. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Now we have to go into the mess of interpreting these.
Okay, so I wrote down the results. So Sabrina had 10 yes, 1 no. Julia had 7 yes, 4 no. Aiden had 8 yes, 3 no. To clarify, Aiden had 8 yes, 3 no. Ali had 4 yes, 5 no. And Allison had 6 yes, 3 no.
Okay, so we, just to clarify how this works, we can't, so Ali is a no because did not meet majority yes, and as we have to do the top 3 between the rest because of it's not just a pure yes no because of the abstention. It's possible to have it that way. So then I believe it becomes Sabrina, Julia, Aiden. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. So with that, we can close the polls and bring
So
them.
yeah, point of information, just to clarify to everyone. So Sabrina, Julia, and Aiden was the top 3, and they are voted in for the engagement committee.
And they all received a majority on their poll. They received more yeses than nos. So that makes them valid.
Okay, I will be allowing them back into the council.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you to all the nominees. The slate that will go on the motion based on the election at council is Sabrina Button, Julia Takamoto, and Aiden Shimizu. So thank you for everyone for putting your name in and for accepting nominations. With that, we will continue. If there's any further debate on the motion, please put your name in the speakers queue if you have anything. Seeing none, is there closing from either of the movers?
Yes, there is. Vice President of Operations-elect Evan Ray. So I know Jonah's super pumped to get this committee started. So are we as the incoming executive. I would ask that everyone who, if this motion is passed, that everyone who gets elected to the committee, please put your email in the chat so Jonah will be in touch soon. I also urge those who did not get elected, please continue to contribute to the committee's goals. We want as much feedback as possible. Jonah will also reach out to you to get any ideas that you have for this committee. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you to the movers. With that, be it resolved that Sabrina Budden, Julia Takamoto, and Aiden Shimizu be elected as members of the Engagement Committee for the 2022 to 2023 academic year. Moved by Jane Cohen-Wallace, seconded by Evan Ray. You may now vote. Motion passes. Thank you, everyone. I do need to ask for a motion to extend council at this point.
Motion to extend council.
Point of information. Because we were waiting a while for motions to extend, we will do it after the exec report since we started at roughly 6:47.
Okay, noted. Sorry, my bad on the interpretation there. Okay, sorry about that. Thank you for correcting me there, Director De Silva. With that, we'll move on to the executive reports then, starting with the president's report.
President Christina Pepto Yorlehihu Bissell. Thank you, Nick. I first like to note that some of the things in my report either have not yet been completed or have already been completed, as I wrote this well ahead of time and kind of knew it was on my docket for this week. But instead of reiterating what's on my report, I just wanted to say thank you all for a wonderful term and for all of your dedication in representing your peers and coming to council this year, especially remotely without pizza. It has truly been an honor serving you these past 5 years, and it warms my heart to see how far you have all come throughout your time here at Queen's. I'm very proud to hand off the torch to the incoming executive and the directors and wish you all the best in the upcoming years. Thank you.
Thank you, President Bissell. Moving on to Vice President of Operations report.
President Christina Pepto Yorlehihu Bissell. Ben has the flu. He sends his regards. He will send you your money soon. Enjoy his dogs. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the report from the Vice President of Student Affairs.
Hi, everyone. Kai Edwards, Vice President of Student Affairs. Much like Christina, I'm feeling quite nostalgic, despite the fact that I will be back next year. So I'm looking next year to seeing all the great things that you. Other than that, it's pretty much all covered in lots of regular duties and pretty much kind of cleaning everything up before. Yep. Wait, can you guys hear me? Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah. That's always in my reports is finish. So that's kind of fun. And I hope you guys enjoy my council meeting, my last one of the year.
Right, thank you, Vice President Edwards. We'll go on to the director reports then, starting with the Director of Academics.
President Christina Pepto Yorlehihu Bissell. Alexa is at the Chem banquet, and could not make it tonight. She also sends her regards. She's wrapping up her folio really well, and will get and has basically been focusing on her new position as the incoming Director of Services. Everything's pretty much here. So if you have any questions, please either email her or send me a DM. Thank you.
Thank you, President Bissell. Moving on to the Director of Communications.
Kai Edwards, Vice President Student So Ella has been drowning under capstone stuff, and unfortunately we did not have an all eng this week because we had an issue with MailChimp. But other than that, Ella is wrapping things up with her team and with her managers. So they're doing a little bit of manager appreciation as well as tie-dyeing some shirts, which is a super fun idea. And I'm very excited to see how that goes. And she has just bought a bunch of stuff in for the summer for the who have been hired, which is very exciting.
Thank you, Vice President Edwards. Moving on to the Director of Clubs and Conferences.
Edwards. Yet another that we have lost to the Chem banquet. So most of Adam's job has wrapped up at this point. Victoria is doing a great job. She's busy hiring all the conference co-chairs. There are only a few left to be hired. I believe they're missing a QSC 1 co-chair as well as QWEC and 1 for QWays. So if you know anyone who's interested, please encourage them to check out the stuff on Breezy.
Thank you again, Vice President Edwards. Moving on to the Director of Design.
Edwards, Vice President of Student Affairs. So Jen is sick. She also has the flu, just like Ben. So her voice is very bad. So I will be giving her report on her behalf. So we just had Design Team Executive Appreciation yesterday evening. Big shout out to Michael and to Stephen who helped Jen coordinate that. They had a lot of great turnout and it was really nice for them to kind of put some names to faces. Things up, and the Deputy of Design hiring is open. So if anyone is interested in getting involved, that is also happening.
Thank you again, Vice President Edwards. Moving on to the Director of Internal Processes.
Director of Internal Processes, Evan Ray. Yeah, so I think the major thing is wrapping up my portfolio continuing transition. And the biggest thing is finalizing awards banquet plans. I think we're 99% there and all but set for next Tuesday evening. The Clockwell Pub invitations will hopefully go out in the next day or two for everyone to RSVP to. Yeah, and I would say goodbye to council, but I'll be back next year as well. I finally get a vote back as well.
Thank you, Director Ray. Moving on to the Director of External Relations.
In terms of the Director of External Relations, mostly just working on transition with my 2 little kids and supporting my Fix and Clean coordinators. That's happening this weekend, Fix and Clean. Supporting my outreach managers, running a wellness week event. They had dogs in the ILC today, so that's super fun. I think it went really well. And helping figure out logistics of joining ESCO as full members. And yeah, working with Danny and Christina and Kalena and Jade, the ESCO president, to figure that out. Working on finalizing the Indigenous Patch Initiative, will be coming out soon. Over the next 2 weeks, continuing to transition the kiddos, finishing a post-conference delegate report with ex-Comcom, working on Wellness Week with the outreach team, and continuing to support my Fix Clean coordinators as they go into their events, and continue working on the Indigenous Patch Initiative. And this is my last Evan meeting, so I love you, Evan.
Thank you, Director Shimizu. Moving on to the Director of Finance.
Mike Butler, Director of Finance. Hey everyone, hope you're all doing well. Last few weeks, been a bit sick, but we were working through just basically completing the month ends is the main thing. A bit more transition stuff, but mostly just month ends and wrapping up the position. Yeah, cheers.
Thank you, Director Butler. Moving on to the Director of First Year.
Edwards, Vice President of Student Affairs. You guys are not getting sick of my voice. So Alan has a test tonight. Tests. And so mainly what he's been doing is collecting transition documents from his team, getting things set up for Thomas, as well as doing a FIPCO appreciation dinner to kind of show some accomplished over this past year.
Awesome. Thank you again, Vice President Edwards. Moving on to the Director of Human Resources.
Also long Director of Human Resources. Same old, hiring is happening. So please continue to check out breezy.engsoc.quincy.ca. That's where you'll find all the positions. And I did contact Stephen Hunt about getting Articulate 360. I am currently in talks with ITS. It is a time and a half. So hopefully that'll get resolved soon, so that we can have like a smooth transition when Haley fully takes over in May. And then, yeah, just making sure Haley feels comfortable in her role and making sure hiring goes smoothly for the last few weeks. So thank you everybody for having me and listening to me and also putting up with my meat illiteracy and my animal pictures.
Thank you, Director Wong. Moving on to the Director of Governance.
Andrew Silva, Director of Governance. Ironically, I did not put a report in. So yeah, I know I get on all the directors and executives to do that, and I didn't do it, so I apologize, but I'll do a little summary. So what I've been up to, so awards committee met for the first year awards. We got that done. So all the awards have been selected and they are ready for the award ceremony. I have helped transition my lower, teach him how to make the agenda, and then also preparing for this council. Things I will be doing upcoming weeks is also I want to remind for all the year exec as well as discipline clubs, if you do have any questions about elections and the process, please let me know. I can answer any questions or any concerns. And that is probably my main focus for the next 2 weeks. Everything's kind of wrapping up for me. So yeah, just being there for any help for elections.
Thank you, Director De Silva. Moving on to the Director of Information Technology.
President Christina Pepto Yorlehihu Bissell, Zach cannot attend to this evening. He did not submit a report, but he has been doing all his IT duties as he always does. And he has been helping out with the MailChimp situation that Kai has mentioned earlier regarding mass emails.
Thank you, President Bissell. Moving on to the Director of Social Issues.
Humans Salvaraja, Director of Social Issues. First and foremost, really quickly, I ran into Ella today and she wanted me to pass on something to council. She wanted to sincerely thank everyone for a great year. She's feeling increasingly washed up and loves everyone so much. She also wanted me to mention that ED 2021 is better than ED 2022. But anyways, into my update. I've had a lot of meetings over the past 2 weeks. We wrapped up our EDI conference. Unfortunately, we didn't run our in-person thing, but we're just putting in transition and working on that. Diversity policy went through, which was pretty awesome. We're still working with the faculty on EDI resources. Indigenous Patches Initiative is still going through, and I think we're starting marketing soon. I've been following up with the Gender Washroom Initiative and been doing things with the Menstrual Products Initiative that we're hoping to continue next year as well. And I've been wrapping up the portfolio over the next 2 weeks. I'll be meeting with Mesoma. Congratulations getting the docile role. I'm very excited to be working with you. But yeah, that's everything from me.
Thank you, Director Salvaraja. At this point, thank you to Director De Silva for correcting me earlier, but I believe we do need to request a motion to extend council at this point.
Seconded.
I don't think I'm allowed to
move.
You
didn't motion it. Yes, that is correct.
So can I get a motion from someone to extend council potentially?
Yeah, motion to extend council.
Seconded.
Seconded.
Thank you. Can we put that to vote? You may now vote. Motion passes. Okay, so then we will move to the Director of Professional Development.
President Christina Pepto Yorlehihu Bissell, Marissa could not attend. She's also at the convention banquet, and she has finished all her events for this year and has been doing an amazing job transitioning Kate. Alexa has also been doing an amazing job transitioning Connor. I just met with Marissa yesterday. That's how that was fresher in my mind. And so everything's wrapped up, and her EDI in the workplace module is also complete. So big shout out to her and her team for completing that. It is available, I believe, on the PD Connects website.
Thank you, President Bissell. We'll then move to the Director of Services.
President Christina Pepto Yerlehihu Bissell Delina also cannot be here tonight. I believe she is sick or school. I'm getting people's reasons mixed up. She has been wrapping up the services really nicely and showing appreciation to her teams. Clark Cove patio safety plans are underway, I believe, for the last patio next Friday, submitting golden words to press night safety plans so they can finally write in person. And of course, transitioning Alexa and Evan, which is a lot because we have 7 services, all 5 under her portfolio. So yes. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you to everyone giving reports there. We then will move on to the question period for those reports. So if anyone has a question, please put your name in the speakers queue. Seeing none, I actually had something briefly. I believe from March 3rd Council, there was in relation to bed fund, there was a note that there would be some follow-up on particulars with certain purchases. Was there any changes to the approved purchases that need to be made by the team in response to that?
President Christina Pepto Yerlehihu Bissell, I have not received any necessary changes and have full confidence in Alexa and Grace of the purchases that have been made. And so we are moving forward with what was presented at council. We have talked about it extensively.
Great, thank you for that update. Seeing nothing else in the ED report question period section of the speakers queue, we'll move on to the faculty board report.
Jonah Opler, Side 22 Faculty Board Rep. There has not been a faculty board meeting since last council.
Thank you, Representative Opler. Moving on to the Alma Mater Society report.
President Christina Pepto Yerlehihu Bissell, AMS has met. Yes, AMS has, sorry, the chat was distracting. AMS has met, but I believe we talked about that at AGM, and we are meeting again next Thursday for an in-person AGM. We're going over their corporate initiatives and their financials on the budgets and stuff, so we can send an update about that to council later. If we corporate general meeting. Thank you, Kaya. There's a lot of reports that I'm giving. So we can send an email update about that if anybody's interested, or you're welcome to check the AMS website for their minutes.
Great, thank you, President Bissell. Moving on to the Senate report. I do not see either the senior sender or the junior sender in the participants list.
President Christina Pepto Yerlehihu Bissell, Senate did meet. It was very brief. It was very short. It went really smoothly. That is the update I got from President's Caucus. So no major updates from Senate.
Okay, thank you, President Bissell. Moving on to the Engineering Review Board report. Not seeing anything, and do we know if the ERB chair is here?
Point of information, I believe that they had to leave early meeting at the same time as council, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you, Vice President Edwards. Does anyone else happen to have any update on that?
I mean, I can provide the ERB sure that they're happy to answer any questions or any concerns that anyone has regarding what they've been.
Okay, thank you. Moving on then to the advisory board report.
I can do this one, Christina. Michael Butler, Deputy Chair of the Advisory Board. Mostly just finishing up year-end presentations. There's, I think, a transition meeting being planned at the moment for the new members. And Julia says that we have yet to elect new board members to positions, but that's coming up. So those are all the updates that we have at the moment.
Thank you, Director / Deputy Chair Butler. Moving on then to club reports. We'll start with, let's see if I'm going off of memory here. We'll start with EngFizz, after which we will say nerds.
EngFizz.
Nerds.
Nerds.
Is anyone able to give an update on behalf of EngFizz?
I mean, I'm in EngFizz, but I don't think anything's being planned. I think they're just wrapping up things for the year and then getting elections done.
We sometimes get messages about things in the group chat and then no one responds.
Okay, thank you. Sounds like business as usual. Next up, we have ECE, after which we will say ZAP. ECE.
Zap.
Zap.
Nick Merton, ECE Club President. Unfortunately, our EngSoc representative has a lab at this time right now. Main updates, we're finally selling merch, and I just fulfilled the first orders today. That involved understanding how EngSoc Shop actually works, so thank you to the IT team for being helpful with that. We also ran elections. Not super successful. It was really hard to get people to run. We have a lot of positions. And so we did manage to get a president, a merchandise coordinator, a treasurer, and the academic representative for computer engineering. We don't have one yet for electrical engineering. So we do have a few key positions that will need to be filled in September. So I'm in discussions with my lower as to sort of planning how they can still effectively serve people and what sort of potential long-term changes we might need to make to improve that in the future. And maybe I will suggest to my lower to maybe get in contact with the new engagement committee, seeing as we're having some engagement problems, and we may be able to work with them a bit. Other than that, nothing really going on. So that's my report. So back to Nick Merton, Deputy Speaker. We will then move on to the report from mechanical engineering, after which we will say gears.
Point of information, I don't believe anyone who is in MEC nor is on MEC DSC is present tonight to give the report.
Thank you, Vice President Edwards. We'll then move to mining engineering, after which we will say shafts. Okay. Thank you to everyone who is here today. We will then move on to year reports, starting with Sci chugga 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 2-2.
Old.
Old.
President Takamoto, are you able to give a report?
I see Julia, but
I don't hear anything.
Yes.
So I'm going to assume that there's something wrong. However, I do know what's going on. So basically there's going to be a Sci 2-2. The yearbook is out. So please, if you're in Sci 2-2, order a yearbook. I believe they're selling them on the EngSoc website, as well as they'll be selling them at the Sci22 celebration event at Clark happening this weekend. It's a great chance for people in Sci22, share the celebration with their classmates. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it besides wrapping up some merch stuff. Oh, Julia's back. She back. Okay.
Hi, Council. Julia Takamoto, Sci22 Pres. I'm so sorry. I was doing a last-minute emergency meeting for our event on Saturday, and this was the only time I could meet with the event coordinators, so I apologize. I do think I heard Kaya mention our event that's happening on Saturday. We are renting out Clark. Everybody who's graduating is welcome, whether you are in Sci22 or Sci21. And also, if you're in Sci22 and not graduating, come hang out. Our yearbook is selling right now. It's up in the EngSoc store. It's $27. It is definitely worth all 27 of those dollars. It looks fantastic. So if you want a yearbook to commemorate your time at Queen's, please buy one. We are wrapping up with our thank you gift, and our final bits of merch are up in the EngSoc store. This is like your last chance if you would like any remaining Sci22 merch. Actually, your last chance will be Saturday, but go get some merch. And if you have any questions, feel free to send them to me. And follow our Insta at QueensEng22 for any last minute updates. Gotta get that plug in there. And I also just want to say, thank you, Council. I really love being a part of this, and really sad to not be part of Council next year. So thank you so much for all the time that we've had.
Thank you, President Takamoto. And yeah, shout out to Nick Newclaus for being the yearbook rep and putting that together. A lot of work went into that. Moving on to Sci23, or say Sci, nobody likes you when you're 23.
Sci23.
Noah Wyman, Sci23 president. So it's been a quieter year than we anticipated this year, but we're hoping to wrap up with a couple things. Hopefully merch coming to you in the next week. And we're looking into a potential crest hanging in Clark. Other than that, we will need to reopen nomination forms for our exec for next year, because we've not gotten a lot of uptake on that. So if you are in Sci23 or in Sci22 and will still be here next year and would like to be on your exec, it is an unbelievably incredible opportunity. Keep your eyes open for that form and definitely think about it. That is all from us.
Thank you, President Wyman. Moving on to Sci2 Forever Frosh.
Point of information, Edwards, Vice President Student Affairs. I believe Ali is no longer here. Currently, as we speak, there's the Sci24 year crest hanging. So I would wager that's where a lot of Sci24 are, which is pretty exciting for them. I know that they have been waiting kind of a long time to do it. Yeah, so I think that's the main thing they're doing, as well as I believe they have merch up on the EngSoc website. That's it.
Thank you, Vice President Edwards. That would make sense why there's a lack of Sci24 representation here right now.
Point of information. So unfortunately, with all these last end of the year motions, it did get lost in translation of actually getting a motion for the Sci25 nickname. I really do apologize for that, everyone. And unfortunately, we will have to move it to the first council next semester. Again, I'm very sorry. It really kills me when I notice that. I apologize to Sci25, but that does give the entire summer for some very creative nicknames.
Thank you. Thank you, Director De Silva. Yeah, please sit on that for the summer, and I'm sure we'll get, we might spend a whole hour at council or I won't, but you guys might spend a whole hour at council in September discussing that with all the time you'll have to come up with ideas. For the time being, moving on to the report from Sci25.
Sorry, quick question. Everyone here, I assume, has been here for the whole time. Major shout out. Did people want to stay and do that? Because it has been a very, very long time. If people who are still here are like, yes, it's worth it, we want to go for it, then I think that we could probably amend it if that's something people are really interested in.
Thank you, Vice President Edwards. Yes, there is some process for that if someone wishes to raise a motion at this point. It's not really much of a substantive motion. we're not exactly debating a policy change here. Any input on that from council?
Julia Takmoto, Sci22 Pres. I believe Sci25 is supposed to raise the motion themselves to get a nickname.
Am I?
I believe so.
Okay.
Point of information / direct response to Kaya. Based off of prior experience, this does take like a substantial amount of time, and there's a bit of organizational stuff on my end, so I would appreciate it if it does get moved next year. I do apologize again.
That's okay.
It's this council already has been a bit of a Zoom poll nightmare, and yeah.
That's okay. Don't worry. I'll remember. I'll be on
Sounds
council next year. I got you.
Okay. I think we'll probably leave it at that then. We will then move to statements and questions by members, which I see in the speaker's queue. Director Salvaraja, the floor is yours.
Sorry, point of order. We skipped the Sci25 report.
Oh, yeah, it has been a very long.
Sorry, Kai Edwards, Vice President.
Thank you, Vice President Edwards. My apologies, President Button. The floor is yours for the Sci25 report.
Sci25.
Raj.
Sci25 Pres. Don't worry, guys. Council next year will be so funny. I'll be a comedian. Haha, everyone come. Basically, we have been selling merch, and we closed the merch sale, and then we're like, psych, we're putting merch back on. So merch is on the EngSoc shop. If you're in Sci25, go buy a hoodie, go buy a sticker. They look so good. And then we also got a year motto. I don't know what it is, but we do have one, and it has the word iron in it. So that's super cool. And I think that is it. Oh, we also did elections, and they went pretty well, but I think we have to do a second round. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, President Button. Now we will move to statements and questions by members, starting with Director Salvaraja.
Hello, Jeevan Savaraja, Director of Social Issues. I keep talking this night. This should only take a few minutes. It's also a bit more positive than what was mentioned at AGM. But for those of you who don't know, we brought in addressed AGM 2 weeks ago that discussed about some certain issues that were raised to us and some certain issues that myself and Aiden saw over the past years regarding, I guess, EngSoc operations in general, and then how people were being treated. I had an entire address written out, but I'm just going to speak from the heart here. We met with the incoming executive last Friday to continue that discussion and flesh out more ideas. One of the ideas that came from that discussion was the potential creation of a task force to look further into the issues mentioned. Some ideas that were brought in terms of goals of the task force were to provide recommendations and promote changes in the engineering society on matters pertaining to necessary improvements that would create a more positive and working environment. So that being said, the overarching goal of this potential task force would be to investigate the way the engineering society operates, the current policy and bylaws followed, and most importantly, looking into how involved members are treated and supported throughout their terms of the engineering society to strive and best support its involved members. So those are discussions that myself and Aiden, are continuing with the incoming exec. I also want to mention that it's fantastic that through those discussions, the incoming exec have also placed some of the initiatives that we discussed about in their summer strat plans. So that is fantastic. But the purpose of just my quick statement today is to say that we are continuing to look into, I guess, what we brought to AGM and what we would like to collaborate in terms of with the exec. We've also been meeting with Jonah to talk about potential collaboration points with the engagement committee and how that may play out. We're going to be meeting hopefully over the summer with the incoming exec and continuing to flesh out the ideas. Again, this is all very preliminary, but one of the goals of just coming today and speaking is just to provide an update and not just leave everyone in the dark from what was brought up at AGM. Continue the discussion, and yeah, I'm hoping that this is something that can become a reality, and that we can work towards creating a more positive and inclusive space for the engineering society. A lot of the initiative and a lot of the work being put in by the exec, by us, by Jonah, by everyone, it just shows that we're all so passionate, we're all so eager to evoke that change, and yeah, we're looking forward to hopefully continuing that idea. We also wanted to potentially open the floor to anyone at council if anyone would like to provide open further discussion, or ask questions, or add their thoughts, concerns on potential creation of a task force into this issue. We're open to that as well, but if Aiden has anything else to add, that more or less just concludes my statement.
Thank you, Director Salvaraja. Director Schmiese, did you have anything to add there?
Aiden Schmiese, Director of External Relations. Not really. I think Juven covered it well. I think a preliminary task force over the summer, looking at how we can create a real task force in the fall and implement it into policy, I think will be great. And I would encourage anyone with ideas or that would like to join this committee to reach out to either me or Juven.
Thank you. Seeing nothing else in the speakers queue, I just want to say thank you to both Director Salvaraja and Director Schmiese for bringing up that point, and for all your effort and work, both in your ordinary roles and in addressing those issues. I think that's appreciated by me and by everyone here at Council. And thank you to everyone for still being here at last Council, and for a great year, and for a great 4 years for me, as this is my last council ever, at least as a student member of EngSoc. With that, I'm looking for a motion to close council.
Motion to close council.
Seconded.
You may now vote. Motion passes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Good luck with exams, and I appreciate everyone for sticking around.
Bye.
Nick, you nailed that shit.
Thank you, Jonah.